Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
And welcome into the Monday edition of Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Junnie Riddle and Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Monday morning. Joe is out today. We'll take your thoughts all show long, 615-737-1025. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Junnie Riddle, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. I told you when you walked in, I was like, I don't know how you do this every single day. Waking up early is something different because I think the last time we did a show together, it was around Thanksgiving, and we got to sleep in a little bit. We started at 8, which is a reasonable time. But getting up here and driving at 4 in the morning is definitely something different. So let's see how it goes.
So I was telling you, you don't get used to it. So everybody told me I would. That's not true. I don't get used to it. So we'll see what happens if we can all power through today here on the program. Michelle, good morning. How are you?
Morning, guys. First thing, honorable mention, Caitlin Clark. Historic performance last night. She is the GOAT. Robby, you had a rant about her a couple weeks ago. She is amazing basketball to watch.
41-point triple-double. Not bad.
Yeah. History, men's and women's basketball. She's insane. Happy that we still get to watch her in this tournament. But doing good this morning, everyone. Happy Monday, whoever's listening. And, Junie, good to have you today.
Yep, absolutely. We've got a lot to get into on the program here today. We'll be joined by Jim Diamond from the Associated Press at 7:30. Got a lot of Preds talk to get into today. We'll get into some of that here in just a few minutes, some of that in the 7 o'clock hour as well. Corey Curtis from News 2 for his weekly visit at 8 o'clock. We'll get into the Tennessee Titans and the NFL with him. NFL owners meetings getting underway today as well. So who knows? Could see some news coming out today. And we had Charles Robinson on last week, says that he would hope that the Aaron Rodgers trade could get finalized at the NFL owners meetings when everybody's there and together. So we'll see what happens on all that front. A busy weekend in the world of sports. The Final Four in men's basketball is set. We'll get into that coming up here in just a few minutes. I do want to start on the Preds, though, just because I thought it was really cool seeing the crowd that was out there on Saturday for Pekka Rinne's statue unveiling. Obviously, if you've been around this city for any length of time, or if you've been a Predators fan for any length of time, you know how important Pekka Rinne is to the franchise. He was the first number in team history to get retired, have their jersey lifted through the rafters, and now has a statue out on the plaza of Bridgestone Arena. Look, I think it looks pretty good. It's a good-looking statue, but it was cool to see the crowd out there on Saturday. Lots of people coming out for the statue unveiling outside Bridgestone Arena.
I mean, yeah, it was a 1 p.m. puck drop. They started the ceremony at 10 a.m., and hundreds of people were out there crowded. I mean, the plaza was packed.
Oh, yeah.
The statue looked great. I think Max Hers, when he came on with us, because Michelle and I, we were broadcasting from Bridgestone on Saturday, and he said it best. He said they chose the best moment. Him kind of waving to the fans, his last little go-around in his last game. And it was a great moment. The fact that his face is in it, and he's kind of waving to the crowd, kind of saying goodbye to Smashville. I mean, it's a very perfect moment to build a statue of him, and for him to be the first, and for all that he did on and off the ice. I mean, what player deserves it more than Pekka Rinne to be the first and to be the one player that is known as a Nashville Predator? Yep,
for sure. And it was funny to watch him give his speech. Look, I've been around Pekka for a long time, and I've gotten to know him pretty well, and just he's the most humble guy that you could ever really hope to be around. I think most people who've been around him know that, and everybody says the greatest things about him, which are all true. But it was funny to watch him give that speech, because I don't think he could really get over that there was a statue that he was standing in front of him. So pretty fun to watch that from Pekka Rinne on Saturday. On the ice, some struggles for the Predators over the weekend. They lose 7-2 on Saturday against the Kraken, and they fall 3-2 yesterday against Toronto. So, we've talked about the games in hand that they've had against the Winnipeg Jets, and as far as the playoff race is concerned, this weekend was a pretty big hit to that. I mean, you've got 80 points, you're 5 points back of the Jets. Now you've got 2 games in hand, and you're running out of time. I mean, the Preds have 10 games left in the season. So you're talking about, at this point, having to make up 5 points in a 10-game stretch here. It's not impossible, but you need some help there from the Jets. But also, if you're the Predators, you're looking around your lineup right now, and you're like, good gracious. Who else is going to get hurt? Matt Duchene gets hurt yesterday in the game against Toronto. He's going to be week to week. And at this point in the season, I mean, week to week, there ain't but a few weeks left in the season.
Yeah.
So I don't know what week to week exactly means, but obviously a tough loss when you already have Forsberg out and Parsonen out and Yossi out and Ryan Johansson out. We can go up and down the list of guys that are out right now for the Predators. Now you add Matt Duchene to that mix yesterday as well. And, I mean, quite frankly, just the roster right now, and we see it in the results with the offense. I mean, they are scrapping the bottom of the barrel to try to find as much offense as they can find. And right now, I mean, they're basically at 2 goals a game, right? Like, that's where they are right now, which is it's really difficult to win that way when you can't muster up more offense. And, you know, it's not anybody's fault, but they've gone a lot younger. And they've gotten a lot of injuries, and that's not a great combination coming down the stretch.
I would still say on the bright side of things that the guys that are called up and stepping up in the place of these guys are doing a really good job. And I think for Preds fans, the expectations had to go out the door when they sold off so many of their key veterans at the trade deadline. So, seeing guys like Luke Evangelista and Tomasino come up here and make some good plays. And I know Tommy Novak last night, that assist to Barry when he got the shot, and then Cody Glass, tipped it in. This team is still fighting, and I think that's what's good. And without expectations, as Predators fans, you got to enjoy watching these young guys fight and get their opportunity because, come next year when you do get your veterans back and you do get your big hitters back, some of these guys are going to play some pivotal roles and kind of taking this team over the top. And hopefully they can get that going so that this rebuild isn't as long as people expect.
And now this young team gets to go on the road on Tuesday and take on the best team in the NHL in the Boston Bruins. So we'll see. What happens on that front?
That's another aspect of this with them trying to catch the Jets. I mean, the Jets look like they kind of have a cakewalk the rest of the season. And you look at the Preds schedule, and, I mean, it's absurd. At Boston, at Pittsburgh,
Dallas,
Vegas, Carolina. Yep. Calgary, you play Winnipeg again, Minnesota, and then you end the year with the Colorado Avalanche. I mean, you couldn't ask for a more tough schedule, and I think, going down the stretch, the Preds might have, the worst group of games to end the season. So it's really all about, trying to take the positives from it, see what these young guys can do, and they're fighting. The Maple Leafs are a much more talented team, and, they stuck it in through the last second there, even when, it seemed like towards the tail end of the game, they didn't score till midway in the third.
Yep.
But, till the very end, scoring that last goal in the last couple minutes, cut it to 3-2. This team still got some fight in them, so still some positives. But, yeah, the injuries are killing any chance of this team to try and make a last-second push for the playoffs.
Yep, we'll get back in the Preds coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. Like I said, Jim Diamond from the Associated Press will be joining us at 7:30 as well. So looking forward to that conversation with him. The Final Four is set, and is a Final Four that I have not seen the exact percentage, but there can't be basically anyone that's had this Final Four predicted before the tournament began. Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, Miami, and UConn. That's your Final Four in the men's tournament. You're talking about a 9 seed, 2 5 seeds, and a 4 seed, with UConn being the highest seed remaining, making the Final Four. So Florida Atlantic will take on San Diego State, and Miami taking on UConn coming up in the Final Four. It's wild that those are the 4 teams that we're ended up with in the Final Four, and what a wild weekend of basketball as well. That Florida Atlantic team, we talked about it in the immediate aftermath of Tennessee's loss to them. They're pretty darn good, and they won't go away, and here they are in the Final Four.
And I watched a lot of – I shouldn't say a lot, but, I mean, for a Conference USA team, I'd say I've watched FAU a decent amount this year. They played Western 3 times, my alma mater.
Oh, yeah.
So I knew that this team had talent, and if they got a couple wins, that they would get rolling. And I had been on that for a while. But if you would have told me going into this tournament that not a single team from the SEC or the Big 12 would make it to the Final Four, I would have told you were crazy. I mean, teams like Alabama, Kansas, Texas, those are some of the big hitters that we had seen throughout the regular season. The fact that, only one of those teams made it to even the Elite Eight, and we had 0 1 seeds play in the Elite Eight, speaks magnitude about this tournament and how the parity really – is what makes it special, and that any team really can win on a game-to-game basis.
Yeah, I mean, Miami's played really well. Jim Larinaga back in the Final Four, and it very well could be a Miami FAU national title game, which we were talking about before the show. Is hilarious because they're separated by an hour down there in Florida. So South Florida having some fun right now in the Final Four, but I'm really interested to see how this shakes out. I mean, San Diego State, Joe talked about it last week. He got to see them in person in the first round of the tournament in Orlando. And, look, they gave Alabama fits, and now they found themselves in the Final Four. I mean, Florida Atlantic, San Diego State. I mean, I was thinking about this yesterday and talking about this with some friends. Like, the TV people are probably upset because I don't know that this is the best Final Four in terms of drawing the casual college basketball fan viewer. But I for one, I'm kind of excited for FAU San Diego State. I'm not going to lie.
I think San Diego State is a really fun
I think
watch.
they are, too.
They're super physical. They play hard, and their point guard, Darian Tramwell. I mean, this guy makes plays. Him and John L. Davis, the point guard for FAU, and he's kind of their best player. Them two going at it head to head is a great point guard matchup. If you've really been paying attention to the tournament, so. I don't know. I just like it that there's going to be a mid-major team in the national championship.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that draws more. And we were talking about it with Michelle because I was like, is this, the lowest encompassing seeding in a Final Four? And it brought me back to that VCU Butler matchup, over 10 years ago, to where, Butler made it to the Final Four, the Shaka Smart versus Brad Stevens when he was there at Butler. So, this is where, like, big-time head coaches make their mark and start their career. So, this is just, like I said, it's just awesome for the sport to see these teams, come out and make it this far.
David in Arkansas on the text line says ESPN posted that only 37 brackets had the correct Final Four out of 20-plus million brackets. It's pretty wild.
Okay, I don't understand how those 37 – they must have just been guessing.
4-year-olds.
Because I think I had San Diego State getting upset in the first round by Charleston. I did have UConn in my Final Four. And UConn, I mean, their performance over Arkansas and Gonzaga.
Pretty wild.
They look very good.
They look like the most complete team. And that's the thing is, going into this tournament, I hadn't watched UConn all year. And I didn't pay attention to them, so didn't know much about them. Michelle, props to you because she kept telling me that this team is legit. I think I picked against them almost every single round. But yeah, that team, the way they move the ball, the way they can shoot around the perimeter, they're dangerous.
Yep.
I'd say they're the team to beat right now.
Yeah, it's wild. The Final Four is set in the men's tournament, and it's been a crazy tournament to this point, but a lot of fun to watch. The only part I'm sad about is I can't watch Marquise Noel anymore in the tournament from Kansas State. That guy's awesome.
He was awesome.
Even in the loss the other day, he was awesome. Just enjoyed watching him. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. We're off and running today on Robby and Rexrode. We'll take your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Coming up next, how are the Titans going to find some adequate wide receivers heading into this season? And apparently a couple of options that we've discussed are now off the table via trade. We'll get into that coming up next as well. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
They can be a fully formed model of what they're going to be offensively moving forward.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company.
You don't know what's going to happen with the roster or the team.
He'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
This is a good lesson about sports and what we think and what actually happens.
Chad Withrow on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Jared for Hiller. Sometimes replacing equipment in your home can be overlooked until something breaks, but there's actually big problems that can come from outdated old vintage HVAC systems. Older systems require more maintenance and results in higher utility bills. This month during Hiller's Vintage Showdown, they're giving away a free HVAC system to the owner of the oldest unit. It's easy to enter. Just go online to happyhiller.com and submit a picture of your old unit. Everybody wins with a trade-in credit and 0% interest financing for up to 48 months on replacement. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
This week at the Electronic Express Markdown Mania event, get instant savings of up to 40% off in every department, including all 4K TVs, laptops and tablets, housewares, gaming consoles, speakers, and more. At Electronic Express, we have up to 50% off all your appliance needs in stock and ready to deliver. Plus, buy now, pay later with up to 3 years free financing. Shop the Markdown Mania sales event at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Hey, it's Jared. Are you looking to move? If so, do yourself a favor and reach out to my friends at TriStar Moving. You can be assured your move will be stress-free because they've got new utility vans to help with pack jobs to separate your high-value or fragile items from the bulk of your furniture, and their movers are carefully picked and highly trained. No one in the game is doing this. TriStar Moving is raising the standard in the moving industry. When you're ready to move, give them a call. TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, or online at nationalmoving.org/radio, and tell them Jared Stillman referred you for 10% off. That's TriStar Moving.
Have you seen the selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches they now have at Genesis Diamonds? If not, prepare to be amazed.
If people really know the watch world, they come in and they're in shock. They're like, I cannot believe you have this selection here. They're able to see them, touch them, feel them.
Meet Genesis watch expert Charlie Rivers, who says over the past few years, Genesis buyers have scoured the world to build a collection of luxury pre-owned Rolexes, including all the hard-to-find models.
Daytonas, Pandas, Sky Dwellers, a huge selection of Submariners, Hulks, Kermits, anything that you could ever possibly want. We have every luxury pre-owned Rolex that we have here. We ensure that it's in pristine condition.
So come in today and find the timepiece of your dreams at Genesis. Or if you already own a Rolex and are looking to trade for a different model or even sell it, Genesis can help you get top dollar.
If you have a Rolex, definitely bring it in. I would love to see it and do a complimentary evaluation on it and see what we can do for you.
Genesis Diamonds, now with one of the largest selections of luxury pre-owned Rolexes in America. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Discover credit cards automatically double all the cash back you earn at the end of your first year, which means... Wait, hold up. Question for the audio engineer.
Go ahead.
Did I read that right? Discover automatically doubles all your cash back?
Yeah, that's what the script says.
So if I get a Discover card right now, I can earn twice the cash back.
Apparently. Wait! Unlimited first-year cash back match, only from Discover. See terms and learn more at discover.com/match.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live. We are good to go. Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. You're locked into Robby and Rexrode.
Every morning, first thing.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Junnie Riddle, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Monday morning. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by Superbook. We are live from our 102.5 The Game studio. Sponsored by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025. So, Junnie, a story of the Titans offseason. Obviously, we know the moves that they've made to this point. They've addressed the offensive line. They've addressed linebacker. They've addressed edge rusher with Arden Key. And in the secondary, Sean Murphy-Bunting coming in. So it's been relatively active for the Titans. Not a whole lot of huge moves that they've made to this point. The draft at this point is about a month away. And you're still looking around if you're a Titans fan and saying, okay, all those things are good. We like some of the moves that you've made. But what about wide receiver? What's the plan at wide receiver? Is it going to be simply addressing it in the draft? Is there a trade coming? What could be happening at wide receiver? And we've talked about the free agency group. I mean, it's terrible, and now some of those guys have been signed, and right now it's even worse than it was before. So there's not a lot to choose from there at free agency-wise when it comes to wide receiver. So we've wondered, could there be a trade coming for the Titans to address wide receiver? And obviously we know DeAndre Hopkins is out there, some speculation about Mike Evans and what his future looks like with Tampa Bay. And a couple of weeks ago, some reports out there that the Broncos could be open to moving any one of Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, or Hamlin out there in Denver with Sean Payton coming in, which I immediately kind of looked around and said, well, that didn't make a whole lot of sense. You're bringing Sean Payton in. You have Russell Wilson's contract, which is not movable at the moment. Surely you would like some good wide receivers to go along with that. But Sean Payton addressing those rumors yesterday as the NFL owners meeting scheduled to begin today. And he said, quote, I see and read just like everyone else does. Then occasionally when someone really crowds the plate, I throw a fastball right at their chin and they back up and they're like, all right. And so I haven't thrown any fastballs lately, but we're not trading those two players, referring to Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. This is what Sean Payton had to say yesterday. So an interesting baseball analogy that Sean Payton has thrown out there, but according to him, the Broncos are not trading those two players. Now, I wonder, is that due to maybe they haven't liked the price or the offer that they've received from Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton from other teams, or were those just reports that were unfounded at that time? But according to Sean Payton, Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton not going anywhere in Denver.
Well, I would say Cortland Sutton, he's been a consistent player. I don't think Jerry Jeudy has really lived up to, what he was supposed to be, being drafted in the first round. But, I mean, think about this. Back when Sean Payton was with New Orleans before they got Michael Thomas, I mean, they never had Pro Bowl level receivers. They kind of just took advantage and schematically used and put receivers in good situations and really relied heavily on Drew Brees and his accuracy. And so I just think when you look at Sean Payton, I think that he can get the most out of these two players. And I think that as a receiving tandem, Cortland Sutton kind of being your bigger body possession receiver, Jerry Jeudy being your burner, your speedster that can make plays down the field. I think that he kind of likes what's intact here. And unless you're going to get, blown away with the first-round pick, which personally I wouldn't trade a first-round pick for either of these guys.
No way.
Like maybe not even a second. I think he wants to kind of keep in-house what they have and not really transition. So that makes a lot of sense. But going back to the Titans here, free agency, there's no wide receiver that's going to come in and change the game. No. I mean, realistically, you can go out and get one of these guys like a Zay Jones or a Robby Anderson, but that's not going to move the needle, for this team. You're looking at it to where Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is still in a starting lineup position, and I think the Titans would prefer it if he just kind of stuck to special teams and came in when need be. So this kind of lets me think that they're going to hold off until the draft because there's solid receiving options in the draft every single year, and whether it's at 11, whether it's the second round pick. I feel like one of the top two pick has got to go and address this position at wide receiver.
I would agree. And then the question is that enough? And I don't think it is. I mean, we've talked about this. Like, I like some of what Treylon Burks did last year. And he showed some flashes of, okay, maybe you've got something to work with there if you're the Titans. Now, well, it's up to him. He's got to have a good offseason, all those cliche things that we talk about all the time of getting better and improving, and we'll see whether or not he does that. But look, I think he's a good player. Is he ever going to be an elite number one receiver? I have no idea. We'll wait and see what happens on the Treylon Burks front. But my argument has been, if you're the Titans and you want to compete this year and you want to get back in the playoffs and you want to try to win the AFC South, like, to me, I would not approach it as Treylon Burks being your number one wide receiver if you could make a move in order to help it. And that's going to have to come via trade. Like, it's like you said, you're not bringing anybody in that's a free agent that is challenging for a number one wide receiver role. But I do look around the league right now and I say, like, if you're the Titans and you want to compete, you need some help at wide receiver. And is addressing it in the draft, depending on who it is, like, whether it's one pick, two picks, whatever it is that going to be enough to address a wide receiver room right now that might be the worst in the league right now as it stands here today? Now, I get it. It's March the 27th. So how the wide receiver room looks right now and how it looks in September are two different things, and it doesn't really matter how it looks right now, but the path to fix it, I mean, this is not a great year to have wide receiver needs if you're the Titans because, like you've talked about, the free agent market is so bad. I wonder if they can fix it just based on where their group is right now.
So Michelle and I talked about this past weekend, and Mike Clay went out and did grades for every single NFL team based off position group. And it's basically kind of like a grade scale that you would see in school, 0.0 to 4.0, and 4.0 is your A+. And the Titans ranked in the bottom 5 of teams based off their encompassing, different position groups. And really the only, green they got in significant grades was running back, safety, and D-line. And we all know the three players that, make that what it is.
Oh, yeah.
But wide receiver wise, they are a 0.1.
It's not good.
On the scale. Worse in the league.
Not good.
So with your point, and I kind of want to preface a question to you, and maybe, we can get a little bit into it now and a little bit after the break, but if you could trade for one wide receiver, would you rather get DeAndre Hopkins or Mike Evans?
I think I would rather get Mike Evans. Number one, the consistency that he brings to the table. He's a 1,000-yard guy every year. Number two, I like the size. And number three, like for the most part, he's been pretty durable throughout his career. I mean, you look at it. He played 15 games last year, 16 the year before, 16 the year before that. I'm not saying Hopkins hasn't been, but you've got a PED suspension that you throw in the mix last year, the hamstrings that he's been dealing with the last couple of years. I think for Hopkins, a lot of Titans fans, and I know if you're Rand Carthon, you can't make your decisions this way, but like if they went out and traded for DeAndre Hopkins, a lot of Titans fans would be like, okay, we've seen this one before.
Yeah.
We've seen this one with Julio Jones.
Hamstring issues.
We've seen this one before.
30-year-old receiver.
Yeah, and he'll be 31 coming up in June. I mean, look, Mike Evans is not a spring chicken. What's he, 29? He'll be 30 coming up. So, like, neither one of these guys are necessarily young anymore in terms of NFL wide receiver age. I'd probably go with Evans, though, if I had to pick, just because I like the size that he brings to the table. I like the durability that he's had over the course of his career. And like I said, every year he's been in the league, he's been a 1,000-yard receiver every single year.
No, you're absolutely right. And I also think personality-wise and fit-wise, I see DeAndre Hopkins as a more, vocal, outspoken wide receiver. I would say diva-ish. And with Mike Evans, you really never see that.
No.
I feel like he's been a team-first guy. He's had to play with subpar quarterbacking until they went out and got Tom Brady in Tampa. So he's a guy that's used to being in situations like this, and he's a good soldier about it. So I kind of agree with you here. I'd go with Mike Evans, too, with the consistency, a little bit bigger, younger, and a lot less injury issues, and I feel like a lot less drama. So if they can make that happen, I mean, that would really kind of change my perspective on the season. But what I'm getting from the Titans so far is that, a lot of cheap deals, not really committing to guys, trying to fill in some holes. And if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And it really seems like they're trying to kind of, find a way to get into that next, that next winning window. And that, obviously that starts with the quarterback position.
Yeah, and then the question is if they can't make a trade like that, which, I mean, look, the odds of a Mike Evans trade or a DeAndre Hopkins trade or something like that are not very high when you break it down if you're the Titans. If you can't make a trade like that, do you have the ability to put yourself in a position with your wide receiving core to be competitive next year? And that's what we'll get into coming up next, 615-737-1025. We'll also get into some comments that Rand Carthon made yesterday to Jim Wyatt discussing Andre Dillard at the left tackle position. All that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Want a chance to win tickets to an upcoming Preds game?
Yes!
Tune in to Robby and Rexrode every weekday Preds game day at 8:45 for Preds Pick to Click. Guess a goal scorer and win.
I'll take Roman Yossi.
Matt Duchesne. Pick to Click is brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Visit tjandersonhomes.com to see why they are referred so often. And by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Download their app today.
Preds Pick to Click.
We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Spring in and style up with huge savings on top athletic brands at your Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store in Franklin. Stay active this spring with up to 70% off the athletic styles you love. Shop deals on thousands of styles from top athletic apparel and footwear brands, like $10 tees, tanks, and shorts for the family, $20 swimwear, $20 golf polos, and running footwear for $60 or less. Find incredible deals and incredible style at your Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store in Franklin at Watson Glen.
Now's the time to get a great deal on select Kubota compact tractors, rated #1 in durability and owner experience. They're designed for easy operation and feature performance-matched attachments. Right now, put 0 down and get 0% APR for up to 72 months, plus save up to $800 on select equipment. Now through June 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Visit Coleman Tractor Company, your local Kubota dealer in Clarksville, Nashville, Paris, and White House today. It's that time of year, the insanity, the madness, the tournament, your friends showing up at your house to watch the games and eat all your food. You want to be a good host, but you don't want total chaos, and Central Barbecue has the solution. Bulk order some slow-smoked barbecue and pick it up right before tip-off. Stop by either Nashville location or place an order at eatcbq.com. This year, show your friends you care about them. Feed them Central Barbecue. 2 locations in Hillsboro and Capitol View. Smoke is our sauce. Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Replace your old unit fast before new regulations increase prices up to 20%. Get a new unit today at today's price and receive up to $1,500 off, or get 18 months of no payments so the first payment is not until summer of 2024. At Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, all new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. Schedule your appointment now at springhillac.com. That's springhillac.com.
102.5 and 106.3, The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robby and Rexrode, 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle, 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace, 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company, 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3, The Game.
Hey Nashville, this is David Price. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Join 102.5 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament benefiting Souls for Souls coming up on June the 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. You can put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs to support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes. You can sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at thegamenashville.com/golf. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are taking your thoughts on the Titans on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Ty on the text line, going back to the Mike Evans discussion, says, why would Mike Evans want to come here, though? This is from Ty on the text line. I think it's a fair question. Number one, it'd be a trade, so we'll see what happens. You don't always necessarily have a choice when you're being traded. But, I mean, I do see Ty's point where you're looking around, like if you're a wide receiver right now, looking at this offense and the way that things are set up and, you know, whether it's fair or unfair, having Derrick Henry in the backfield, does that influence the way receivers think? I don't know. But I do understand his point of, like, if you're a receiver right now and you got traded to the Titans, would that necessarily excite you given what their offense looked like last year and what it looks like on paper right now? Probably not, would be my guess.
No, I'm with you. I think the best route for them would to be and go get a guy like a Marvin Jones and then draft a guy. And then you got a solid 3. You got 2 young receivers that can develop. And I don't know, even getting a guy like Marvin Jones, another Jacksonville player, getting some insight on their offense and their defense that they have down there, since they are the favorite now in the AFC South. I mean, that couldn't hurt because, I think where the Titans are right now, going and spending big-time draft capital on going and getting an older receiver on the market that other teams don't want, when you're kind of in the same position as an Arizona and a Tampa Bay, you're not really there yet. But, I mean, Tannehill's not expected to be here, 2-3 more years. So at a certain point, the tide's got to change, and with how depleted this roster is in so many spots, I would rather use that, keep the draft capital, kind of bring more guys in-house, and then when you have a quarterback, you also have, young, talented receivers that are on rookie deals. So I think that would be the best route. I just think that, you're kind of pushing the needle more down the line if you go and, give away future assets and you're going to pay a veteran when he's on the back 9 of his years.
Well, and look, I mean, the Titans aren't stupid. They know that they need wide receivers. Like I know that they've not addressed that yet, but they are well aware that they need wide receivers coming up, whether that's in the draft or however you get it. I just wonder, like, if you're Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel and you gave them some truth serum, are they wanting to be like, well, wanting is probably not the right word. Are they planning on trying to be as competitive as possible this year and going all in with this group with Tannehill and Henry? Or are they looking and saying, yeah, we just have so many holes that we cannot fix them all in one offseason, and you're trying to best position yourself for another year or two down the road. I mean, I don't know what the answer to that is. We've talked about it, though. I mean, the holes that they had this offseason, maybe they've filled some. I mean, we're going to talk about Andre Dillard here in a minute. It would be great if he came in and he could play left tackle and that he could be your guy. Now, he's a former first-round pick. I don't know at this point, if you're the Titans, how you could feel 100% confident that he's your guy at left tackle. You hope he is, and you hope that he can come in and maybe some of that untapped potential was the phrase that Rand Carthon used yesterday. Maybe Mike Vrabel's the guy to bring it out of him, and that he finds kind of a diamond in the rough there at left tackle. But my point is there are so many holes that this team still has to fill if you're the Titans that I wonder, can you fill them all in one offseason? And if you can't, in the back of their minds, does a Vrabel, does a Carthon maybe have their eye on a year or two down the road, even if they would never admit that publicly?
I just think they're showing face that they're trying to be somewhat competitive. You look at a guy like Andre Dillard, first-round pick, and he flat out just got beat out by really talented offensive linemen in Philadelphia. I go back to this Mike Clay, positional chart. The Eagles are the number one team based off all of their positioning groups, and guess which position group has a 4.0? Their offensive line. So I think what this Andre Dillard situation is, it's a super cheap deal, not a lot of guaranteed money, and I think this upcoming season in 2023 is going to be like, hey, can you play? You got the height, you got the speed, you got the intangibles to be a left tackle in this league. Now let's see what you can go out and do on the cheap. And I think really with all of these contracts, you're going to look at a lot of these free agents that you're bringing in and be like, okay, can you be a part of this next run or not? It's kind of like a tryout deal, if you would say, because if Andre Dillard comes out and he plays well in 2023, great. You got a solid left tackle there. But if not, you can easily move off of him, and that's another need that you need to address to start building this roster back up. So, like I said, I don't necessarily know if the Titans know exactly what they're doing. I think they're just trying to do the most with, their cap situation and where they're at with money and who they're paying. But, I mean, the writing's on the wall, Robbie. We've already, heard they're shopping Derrick Henry. They've asked Kevin Byard to take a pay cut. They don't know if they can pay Jeffrey Simmons. Ryan Tannehill, we don't know how long he's going to be here. If not, this year, they still could potentially cut him as a June 1st designation and save money. We just don't know. But I would say the writing on the wall is that I don't think this team is going to be nearly as good as they've been in years past. It's just going to be kind of a prove-it year for guys going forward is, do you want to be a part of this next run with the Tennessee Titans or not? And if they're not, you can easily cut and move off them, and you just add another position to the list to try and rebuild this team.
Well, Rand Carthon spoke with Jim Wyatt yesterday about a plethora of different guys that they brought in this offseason. And he brought up Dillard. He said specifically with Andre, I guess for a lack of a better way to put it, it's untapped potential. This is a guy who was a former first-round pick, really athletic, and he just continues to get better. He just needed an opportunity, end quote. He goes on to say, we'd like to start him off at left tackle and have him there first and see how it goes, but he's another guy that's played guard, and I think the big thing is having versatility. So Rand Carthon kind of leaving his options open there with Andre Dillard as well. And a lot of people have wondered, now that they've signed Andre Dillard, does that take left tackle off the table at number 11? And in my opinion, it should not take left tackle off the table. If there's a guy there that you really like at left tackle, that you feel like could be your left tackle for the next 6, 7, 8, 10 years, whatever it is, and he's there at 11, you better take that guy at number 11.
No, I totally agree, especially, if Vrabel being at Ohio State's pro day, Paris Johnson Jr., he looked like he had a really good day. A lot of people were, singing his praises after his workout. And then Peter Skoronski, you never know if he falls out of the top 10 somehow. I don't think he will.
I don't either.
I think one of either Philadelphia or Chicago will pick him up at 9 or 10. But if he were to fall, I mean that's a surefire guy that you've got to take. I mean he's a plug and chug. Whether he's playing right tackle, think he's a little bit on the smaller end to play left tackle. But even if he's at guard, I mean you're still talking about a high end day one starter that you're going to have to take. So. I would definitely, keep left tackle on the board. Like I said, this is a prove-it deal for Andre Dillard.
Well,
there's no commitment to him.
Well, and some interesting comments, too, from Rand Carthon on the Kevin Byard situation as well. We've discussed what all's going on with Kevin Byard. The Titans asking him to take a pay cut. Some reporting out there that Kevin Byard asked for his release for the Titans, and Grant Carthon addressed that yesterday with Jim White. He said, quote, "I will say this, KB nor his representatives ever asked us for a release, so that was blatantly false. That's what I'll say about that," was what Rand Carthon had to say about the Kevin Byard situation. So that's the general manager going on record that Kevin Byard nor his representatives have not asked the Tennessee Titans for a release.
And I think that's good, and I think that kind of leans toward more of who Kevin Byard is. I just don't see him as a guy that's going to be asking for a release. But, I mean, Rand Carthon didn't say they didn't ask him for a pay cut. Which,
that is correct.
But that's also part of this situation is, they're showing their cards that they don't want to be paying these older veterans, even a guy like Kevin Byard who really doesn't deserve a pay cut. But it's showing how the situation that the Titans are in with their money and how they have it distribute that, they don't, like I said, they don't know if they can pay Jeffrey Simmons. They don't know what they can go out and get because they're so limited on funds. And with the Titans being the lowest payroll in the NFL currently, I mean, it's really just hard to see what their plan is for this year. And I just think we're going to get more insight when the draft comes in about 4.5 weeks.
Well, and a lot of what we've wondered about with that part of it is the Tannehill part, right? Like, what's the quarterback position look like? And, at this point, the moving off of Tannehill for this next season, be that cutting him, be that trading him, like at this point, that just seems so unlikely to me that, the Titans haven't done it yet. So, and you start to look at a trade market, like what does a trade market for Ryan Tannehill look like right now when it comes to shopping him around? Probably not a whole lot that's going to be there. So I feel pretty confident Ryan Tannehill is going to be on the team and is going to be the quarterback next year. And then beyond that, that's when you start to ask the question. Like, we've had Paul Kuharsky on, and he said the whole time throughout the offseason he thinks it's more likely that Tannehill gets extended this offseason than he does that he gets cut this offseason. So if you're a Titans fan, do you want him to just play it out? Like that's what a lot of Titans fans have said so far this offseason is just let Tannehill play his deal out, let Henry play his deal out, and then next year reevaluate where you are. And if you feel like you need to go in a different direction, then go. But I do wonder, like, whether it's Hendon Hooker or whether it's somebody else, like is there a quarterback in the draft that the Titans have their eye on? We're like, man, if this opportunity presents itself, we got to jump on it.
Well, they did interview somebody at their pro day this past Friday, so it is getting a little bit interesting. Hendon Hooker being an in-state product as well. He's not going to go in the first round because of his ACL injury. I mean, that's also something that you can look forward to. But would the Titans be willing to take a guy like that as a flyer after they took Malik Willis? That that's also another cause for concern and what their plans are with him as well. I personally think that Willis shouldn't even be in the mix whatsoever unless he takes an astronomical jump from what we saw. I just didn't see a lot of improvement throughout the season.
Right now, the question with Willis is he going to be good enough to be a backup quarterback? Like that's the question I have with Malik Willis right now. We're so far away from starter with him that it's not even close.
Yeah, so that's also a question as well. But this draft is going to be interesting, Robbie. They could go quarterback, they could go receiver, they could trade back and build up assets to go out and get their guy next year. So like I said, the draft is going to be the key. There's been so many question marks, what ifs, where are the Titans going? The draft is going to answer a lot of our questions on what direction this team wants to go with. And it's going to be really interesting about they stay put, they draft a quarterback, do they move back and try to get assets? All these options are on the table, and we'll really start to show the cards of what they plan to do.
615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Let's take your thoughts on the Titans. Hit up our phone line, 615-737-1025. We'll continue that discussion coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at noon.
That fits the mentality of what they're going to do.
Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton joins Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace to talk all things Titans and NFL.
Much more creative in how you go about calling certain plays.
He's got opinions and insights on the two-tone blue.
That doesn't mean that you can't have great or don't need great quarterback play.
Catch Hutton every Wednesday at noon on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Well, here we go, folks. Coming right down to it with the tournament, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Joe Rexrode here to let you know that right now FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets. If your first bet does not win, just go to FanDuel.com/Joe102 and sign up today to claim that no-sweat first bet. You can wager on everything from the money line to point spreads, which teams will be cutting down the nets. I think UConn and San Diego State are going to play for the national title. If I was looking at that San Diego State FAU game, I do like Johnell Davis for FAU over on his point. So there's a couple things I like this weekend. Tons that you can get into, all in an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Don't miss your shot at a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/Joe102 to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online enrollment wager, only $10 deposit required. Refund issued is now withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 800-8899-789.
Preds fans, Superbook wants to send one lucky fan a pair of tickets on the ice. Text the keyword Superbook, all one word, to 615-737-1025 for entry to win.
Al Gill here from my friends at Dunkin'. Warm up and feel the love with Dunkin'. Treat yourself and a loved one to a brown butter toffee hot or iced latte, which is superb paired with the bacon avocado tomato sandwich. Be sure to try the all-new stuffed biscuit bites. It's a warm biscuit dough wrapped around a mixture of bacon, scrambled egg, and cheddar cheese. Visit us at our newly remodeled Dunkin' on Briley Parkway in Nashville or the new Dunkin' in Mount Juliet and our other locations throughout Middle Tennessee. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Terms apply.
Social Furniture's Spring Home Makeover Sales event is going on now with the latest styles and colors in stock, ready for immediate delivery and setup. If you don't need a fancy schmancy showroom or the stress of a high-pressure sales team, but you don't want to pay high-quality prices, come to Social Furniture. All top-quality furniture and mattresses are on sale now. Don't miss this extreme home makeover sales event that's going on now at Social Furniture.
I shop at Social Furniture because of the way I'm treated.
That's Social Furniture on Charlotte Avenue.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message data rates may apply.
Nice run. It's great being back out on the mountain. You sort of disappeared for a while. Everything okay? Between you and me, it was lower testosterone. Lower T? Yeah. The doc told me once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone, and that can make it harder to stay in shape. That's why I started taking Nugenix Total T. It's made a huge difference. Oh, I've seen that on TV. Is it for real? For sure. It's the #1 doctor-recommended testosterone booster. It boosts free and total testosterone levels to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. My wife, my boss, my kids, everyone has noticed a change in me. Do they still give out complimentary bottles for people to try for themselves?
Yes, just send them a text.
Guys, text HEFTY to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone brand at GNC and Walmart. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back in shape fast, absolutely free. Text HEFTY to 321-321. That's HEFTY to 321-321.
The Dell Technologies semi-annual sale starts now with limited quantity deals on select performance PCs powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Save on select Vostro laptops with built-in security features and select Latitude laptops with enhanced privacy, collaboration, and connectivity. Save on select essential accessories plus free shipping and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
A show that lives and breathes sports.
Focus in, focus in, focus in.
From the SEC.
Credit to the Alabamas, the Georgias, and the Ohio States of the world.
To the Preds.
They've been in a lot of really tight games, but they're not winning enough of them.
To the Titans.
He's talking about what this franchise has built over the years.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace.
What is this? Check it out.
Weekdays from 11 to 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode.
It's part of this nutritious breakfast.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Junnie Riddle, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Monday morning. We'll have Jim Diamond from the Associated Press coming up at 7:30. We'll get into all things Nashville Predators with him. Corey Curtis from News 2 joining the show at 8 o'clock. Taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025. Mason on YouTube says, Malik went from two-word play calls to an NFL offense with the worst skill position group, offensive line, and the worst offensive coordinator in the league. It's clear he has all the tools, so I don't understand everyone giving up on him already. He runs a 4.4 that could throw the ball 70 yards. Rare.
Goodness.
This is from Mason on YouTube. Junnie, your thoughts?
So annoying. It's just like, I get it. He didn't have a lot, but it's like, where's the improvement? I mean, when you have a guy that had one game, over 50% completion, and he can't even throw for over 100 yards, and that was from start of the season to finish. We were at training camp. I was at training camp. I watched him then, and I watched him live all the way up until he got benched for Josh Dobbs. He got benched for Josh Dobbs, who immediately came in after only being with the organization for 9 days and looked astronomically better. No pun intended with astronomically with Josh Dobbs. Good. So, you know, I'd try out here.
Way to go.
Regardless. Malik Willis, unless he takes leaps and bounds this year, shouldn't even be in the question. I don't even want him as the Titans' backup because with Tannehill and his injury issues back when he was with Miami, he's been healthy with the Titans since, but he's getting a little bit older. You know that ankle was nagging him this year. It's not a for sure thing if Tannehill's going to be, play throughout the rest of play a full season, his rest of the time with the Titans. So I think last year showed you it is important to have a backup that can come in and win you a game. That's the point of being a backup. Malik Willis, unless Derrick Henry had 200 yards, which he did against the Texans, which is, they earned the second pick in the draft, he didn't beat anybody. And I just don't think with what he's able to do, he's going to.
Well, look, I understand the idea of it was 1 year. Is there not a possibility that he gets better? I'm open to that. But if you're the Titans, you can't – this idea that the Titans can just come into next season and that Malik Willis is for sure their backup quarterback, I think that's ludicrous. I think if you're the Titans and you don't bring in somebody to compete for backup quarterback along with Malik Willis, I think you're crazy. If he wins the job and he's good in training camp and there's been some improvement – and you feel like he's good enough to be your backup quarterback, then that's one thing. That's what you're hoping for if you're the Titans, is that he comes in and that he has shown improvement and that you feel comfortable with him being your backup quarterback next year. The starting part of this, we're not close to. I don't know that Malik Willis is ever going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. I mean, you could say that they're giving up on him. You can use whatever term you want to give. The fact is, he was light years away from being a starting quarterback last year. And you're talking about a guy that they spent a third-round pick on. So, to me, the starting part of it, it's not – we're so far away from him being a starting quarterback right now, it's almost not even worth talking about. But the hope is, if you're the Titans, is that he's good enough in camp where you feel comfortable about him being your backup quarterback. But even having said that, Junnie, you got to have somebody in there competing for that with him. This idea that they're just yep, Malik's the backup, I think would be such a big mistake for the Titans if that's the route they go with no competition in training camp.
I mean, I pulled up the remaining free agents that quarterback-wise, and I'm looking at almost every single one of these names, and I would take them over Malik Willis, except for maybe one, Bryce Perkins. Don't really know who that is, but, I mean, the bottom of this list is John Wolford, Trace McSorley, Jeff Driscoll, Josh Johnson, Brian Hoyer, Trevor Siemian. I would take all of those guys over Malik Willis because these guys have proven to be backups and have come in and won games and put up, NFL caliber quarterback stats. I'm saying with Malik Willis, when people were singing his praises when he had 80 yards and completed 5 of 14 passes against Kansas City, I mean, it's 5 of 14 for 80 yards, and one of those plays was a 40-yard tight end screen to Chika Conquo that he basically made the play himself.
Now I get what people are going to say there. They're going to say, okay, well, it was look at his wide receiving core and look at Todd Downing calling plays. And look, I get it. The wide receiving core wasn't good last year. There's no question about that. And Todd Downing got fired, so obviously the Titans didn't think he was very good. But some of that's on him too. When you're they obviously. The most telling thing to me was that Dobbs came in, and it wasn't even the physical ability where Dobbs looked better, because Dobbs did look better that way. But the fact that Dobbs was able to come in and spend 9 days around these guys, and immediately they ran their full offense, whereas Malik Willis had been there the whole time, and it was clear when they got in the game they had no trust in him whatsoever to run the whole offense. Like that to me is where he's got to learn. Now, he can do it. Like, it's not like he just has – there's no chance for him to learn as he moves forward, but that's how far away he was. He was around the whole year, and even toward the end of the year in the Texans game, you could tell. Like, they were so limited in what they could call because they didn't trust him to do anything out there.
And the players on the team, I mean, regardless of what they tell you, Malik Willis did not have the belief in the locker room. Even after that Cowboys game where they lost by 2 touchdowns, they at least felt like they had a chance. I mean, Michelle and I were in the locker room after that Thursday night game, and the morale around the team, it felt like they won. You just lose at home by 2 touchdowns to the Dallas Cowboys, and they had more fans in your stadium, and they're sitting in the locker room feeling like they won because they're like, you know what? We feel like with this guy at quarterback, we actually have a chance in Jacksonville. And you did. And if Malik Willis would have played in that game, I think that game would have been an absolute 3-touchdown blowout. Josh Dobbs at least gave you a semblance of a chance because he could sit back there and make accurate throws. He was mobile enough to where he could extend plays. And that's another thing is, a lot of people like the mobility aspect of Malik Willis. I mean, he's not the quickest guy. Like, yeah, sure, when he gets moving, yeah, he can move. But, his quick burst,
change,
his quickness, off the rip is not there. And when you pair that with not being an accurate quarterback and not being a playmaker at the NFL level, it's like, dude, yeah, I don't want you as the backup of this team.
Well, and like I said, if he goes out in camp and he wins the job and he's the best option to be your backup, then great. That's awesome. I mean, that would be best case scenario right now for me if you're the Titans. But I was surprised that they let Dobbs go. But let's say Dobbs found a better deal somewhere else and he likes the situation in Cleveland better. Great, more power to you. You can sign wherever you want to sign. The Titans, I would be stunned if between now and training camp they don't bring in a veteran quarterback to compete for the backup quarterback job. I'd be stunned by it.
I mean, they definitely have to pick somebody up. But here's the thing is I just don't understand, and I get it. Josh Dobbs started the year when Jacoby Brissett started as the starter in Cleveland. He ends up going back to Cleveland to now be Deshaun Watson's backup. But the Titans gave him his first start. So you would think that the fact that he played college here, that the fans like him here, they're familiar with who he is, he came in, he got his first 2 starts here, that this was probably his first option as to where he wanted to be. And when you look at Ryan Tannehill, I feel like if you want a guy that can seamlessly come in for a game or two and give you a similar look to him, Josh Dobbs would have been your guy. It tells me that the Titans didn't want him or they didn't prioritize him in that position, which I think will come back to bite them unless they go out and get another one of these lower-end guys that can at least be a little bit better than what Malik Willis is going to give you.
Coming up next, we'll get into the Nashville Predators. A tough weekend for the Predators on the ice. We'll take a look at where they sit in the playoff race and take a look at some of the young guys and some of the injuries that have taken place, which continues to be a long list that seemingly gets longer every day for the Nashville Predators. We'll get into all that coming up next. Speaking of the Predators, season tickets for the Preds 2023-24 season are on sale now, and the Preds will be celebrating their 25th anniversary throughout next season. Full, half, and quarter season plans are available, and you can join the Loyal Legion today and receive the best seat locations at the best pricing, up to 50% off discounts on concessions throughout the season, up to 6 bonus tickets to select games in the 2023-24 season as well, and big times this summer, priority access to the 2023 NHL Draft and awards, which are hosted right here in Nashville. You can learn more at NashvillePredators.com/season tickets. Once again, that's NashvillePredators.com/season tickets.
All the big plays.
Tannehill, Henry, right up the middle, touchdown, Tennessee.
All the big stories.
The Titans' window to contend is however long Derrick Henry stays Derrick Henry.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Gets it back and scores.
Our execution was good. They have not found their groove. It's always great to win in this league. It's tough to win.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Sports and leadership go hand in hand. In fact, 94% of women executives were student athletes. Play Like a Girl is creating a more equal playing field for the next generation of women in leadership. You can help too. Become a mentor, donor, or volunteer. Learn more at iplaylikeagirl.org/mentor.
Cards issued by Celtic Bank, member FDIC.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 3.5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
Take your first shot at hoops with FanDuel Sportsbook. Sign up today by going to FanDuel.com/play and make every moment more with FanDuel.
21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, and Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit KESGamblingHelp.com in Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia.
Your Game Center update.
The Nashville Predators with a busy weekend in Bridgestone Arena. On Saturday, they fell to the Seattle Kraken 7-2, and followed up on Sunday, they fall to the Toronto Maple Leafs 3-2. Saturday morning, Pekka Rinne's statue was unveiled in the Bridgestone Arena Plaza. Here is Pekka Rinne on his statue.
Like I said, I mean, I feel so humbled. I mean, a guy from Kempele, Finland. It's a small city, and come to Nashville, and 16, 17 years later, have a statue, and the relationship I have with the organization, with the city of Nashville, and with the fans. I mean, it means the world to me, and it's not just a statue. Obviously, it's a lot more.
The Final Four teams are set: San Diego State, Miami, Florida Atlantic, and UConn. Caitlin Clark had a historic performance for Iowa women's basketball last night, a 40-point triple-double. This report is presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. I'm Michelle Knezovic for 102.5-106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robby and Rexrode. Chase and Michelle.
Caroline, Willie, D-Bay.
Stone and Company.
Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
1025 and 1063.
Cranks it, he scores. On both sides of the one big possession.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun.
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk. 1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Junnie Riddle, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Monday morning. Joe Rexrode out today. Junnie in for Joe, so looking forward to that. It's been a great discussion with Junnie so far. Junnie made it through the first hour of the show this early in the morning. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I made it through the whole first hour. Didn't get one cup of coffee, but I broke after that first hour. So
impressive.
I'm going to make it the rest of the way. The coffee is going to get me over the edge.
You made it longer than Rexrode usually does, so that's impressive.
Not one mute. Not one
mute either. I mean, my goodness.
I just felt like sitting in his chair, it was inevitable that it might happen at least once. But I've made a conscious effort to not do that.
That's right. We'll have Jim Diamond coming up at 7:30 from the Associated Press. We'll get his thoughts on the Preds. Corey Curtis at 8 o'clock, his thoughts on the Titans. Looking forward to all that right now. Taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025. Speaking of the Nashville Predators, it was a rough weekend for the Predators on the ice. We talked about it to start the show. It was cool to see the Pekka Rinne statue being unveiled. Lots of fans out there on the plaza at Bridgestone Arena. And obviously David Poyle spoke out there. It's good to hear Pekka Rinne speak and offer his address to the crowd as well. So cool times Saturday morning, fun times on the plaza out there at Bridgestone Arena. And then on the ice, not much going right for the Predators on Saturday. They lose 7-2 to the Seattle Kraken. Eeli Tolvanen scoring a couple of goals, which went over very well on Predators Twitter. Didn't get any tweets about that at all. And then yesterday, following it up with a 3-2 loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs. And the story of this team continues to be, number one, their schedule getting harder, and we've talked about that for weeks. Like we've seen this coming. The schedule was getting more difficult, and it's not any easier this week. You're going on the road to Boston on Tuesday and to Pittsburgh on Thursday. But beyond that, the injuries continuing to pile up. Matt Duchene yesterday leaving the game, and John Hines announced after the game that he's out week to week with an upper body injury. And I don't know if you saw it happen yesterday, but he kind of got hit with a puck in the finger, and I saw a still shot that did not look good for Matt Duchene yesterday. So week to week at this point in the season, there's only a few weeks left in the season, so you have to wonder what that means for Matt Duchene the rest of the way. Forsberg's out. Obviously, they just got Ryan McDonagh back, but Parsons out, Yossi's out. So the injury bug is a big problem for the Predators right now. And then you factor in beyond that, they sold off a lot of good pieces at the deadline. I mean, they're fighting an extreme uphill battle right now to make the playoffs. And you look at the standings, they're still 5 points behind the Jets now with 2 games in hand. So they've made up one of those games in hand over the weekend and couldn't win. So 5 points behind the Jets with 2 games in hand. And when you factor in their schedule and the injuries that they're dealing with right now, I mean, the playoffs are a very, very remote possibility for the Predators at this point.
I would definitely say so. I think that if injuries weren't a part of this equation, that there might actually be a significant chance that they could. And I feel like with a little bit more offensive power, the young guys stepping up and trying to prove themselves and playing as hard as they are, that could have been in question. But, where they stand right now with the amount of guys that they're missing, I mean, it's really slim pickings here. And it's like, do they play themselves into a lottery position? These last couple of weeks, I really doubt that, if they're not playing for anything, here soon, that, Philip Forsberg and Roman Josi, they might not be coming back the rest of the year, potentially. I don't know what your thoughts are about that, but
I don't know. Like, the Forsberg thing is really interesting. I mean, he's missed over 20 games at this point,
which is wild because he started out day to day.
Yeah, and that's the thing with. I mean, look, we all saw him fall down, and we saw him wobbling off the ice in Philadelphia, what feels like forever ago. I mean, I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out what injury he's dealing with, and when you start talking about head injuries, I mean, you never really know when they're going to come back. But like, if you're the Predators, and you do fall that far out of it, like, does it make a whole lot of sense to bring Philip Forsberg back? Probably not. Now, the Josi part of it, I don't know. I mean, you hear day to day, it feels like he's close. So I could see him getting back in there maybe this week. We'll see what happens on that front. But to your point, like, you're running out. They've only got 10 games left. You got 5 points to make up in a 10-game stretch here. And, like David Poyle has talked about, beyond just the here and now of the playoffs, which, look, I think at this point, even with those guys coming back, let's say they all came back today, I still think making the playoffs is going to be pretty hard. Like, you got to make up some ground with a very tough schedule, with Winnipeg not having a tough schedule. All these things are working against you with only 10 games left to go. So that part of it could be difficult, but I am interested to see, like, if the opportunity presents itself here in the next week or two for Forsberg to come back, do the Predators say, yep, get on back out there, or do they say, hey, man, let's just make sure you're good, get yourself healthy, and we'll see you next year. I'm interested to see how they handle that. Let's go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Bob from Antioch. Bob, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Good morning, guys. I have a next year question. How do you feel about the defense core next year? And specifically, do you think Tyson Barrie fits into their long-term plans?
Hey, thanks for the call, Bob. Look, Tyson Barrie, is playing really well. And offensively, he has been – I mean, take a look at this weekend. I mean, he was their best offensive weapon this weekend against Seattle and against Toronto. So it's not necessarily what you want from your team is for, a guy on the back end to be your best offensive weapon, although we've seen it several times with Roman Josi being that guy. As far as him fitting into their long-term plans, I think he's got 1 year left on his deal after this year. I thought there was a chance, Junie, when they traded Ekholm and he was a part of the return, that he could be flipped by the deadline and that they could get another pick for him. I guess you could still do that this summer if you wanted to, but I look at their defense right now. You've got Josi, you've got McDonough locked up, and I do wonder still, like if you're McDonough and he looks at this team and thinks it's maybe another year or two away, like does he go to the Predators this offseason? He's like, yeah, man, I don't want to do that. I'd like to be traded somewhere. I don't know. We'll see what happens on that front. But right now, you've got Josi, you've got McDonough, you got to make a decision on Carrier coming up this offseason, and he's a restricted free agent. So, I mean, you've got his rights. I feel like he'll be back. You just extended Fabro another year, and he's in a heck of a prove-it year next year because, quite frankly, I don't think he's been very good this year. You got Cal Foote back in the Tanner Jeannot trade from Tampa Bay. He's had his moments where he's looked okay. He's also had some moments where it hasn't been very good. So that's a long way of me saying I think the Predators' defense core is in a very interesting spot right now. There's not a ton of great prospects that they have. David Poyle came on our show a couple weeks ago and said, they're going to take the best available player with their first pick in the draft this year. But he also said, it would be ideal if that best available player is on defense because right now there's just not a whole lot there in the pipeline on defense for the Predators.
No, I mean, I completely agree. I really like what Tyson Barrie has done. Agreed. I think he's a good – but I think that you brought up a really good point here, and that is whether or not I'm blinking. Why am I blanking on his name?
Fabro?
No,
McDonough.
McDonough. If Ryan McDonough wants to be here, he's consistently been on winning teams with the Rangers and the Lightning, and he's upper in age. He's starting to get into his mid-30s. And does he want to stick with a team that's kind of trying to rebuild and is in a transition? That will be the telltale sign. Because I think if he stays and you keep that pairing with him and Josi, we've seen a lot of success with that since they've been put together on that first line this season. If you can have Tyson Barrie and a Carrier as a second line and then Fabro, who's on a prove-it deal, who will likely be trying to play a lot better this year to get a long-term deal with the team, then you're talking about a solid, defenseman core, in my opinion. And especially when you got guys on the offensive end that are starting to step up, you can really see that this team could honestly, make a little bit of noise next year with a healthy Duchesne and a healthy Philip Forsberg, and the way that the young guys like Tomasino, Novak, Juuso Parssinen, and Evangelista are playing.
To that point, there's a lot of interesting decisions that they got to make. And look, they started the process of selling off. I mean, David Poyle identified that that's the route they needed to go, and they started selling off, and we saw it. Granlund gone, Ekholm gone, Jeannot gone. I mean, Niederreiter gone. You can go up down the list of moves that they made. The question is, with Barry Trotz coming in and taking over, is that done? Like, are they done selling off, or could we see a little bit more of it coming up this summer? And what does all that mean for John Hines? That's kind of lost in this. Is Barry Trotz is still making an evaluation on John Hines and what that looks like and whether or not he's the coach moving forward. And I do wonder, based on what we've seen to this point, based on the equation around the team right now, what has Barry Trotz's evaluation of John Hines been to this point? What will it be moving forward? And could the Predators add looking for another head coach to the list this offseason? We'll get into all that coming up next. Take your thoughts as well. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3, The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What's up, everybody? Michelle Knezovic here for Superbook Sports. Make 2023 the year when you beat Vegas. Superbook Sports gives you the chance every single week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. The Final Four is set. Florida Atlantic and San Diego State. They'll tip off on April 1st at the end of this week. Listen, I like San Diego State. I'm going to take them minus the 2 to cover. And then Miami and UConn. UConn is playing their best basketball right now. 5.5 point spread might seem kind of big, but UConn has absolutely destroyed Gonzaga and Arkansas. I'm going to take Miami plus the 5.5. They have great guard play, but I think UConn ultimately wins outright. No fancy computer algorithms, no guys across the pond setting lines for American sports, just the best team of odds makers in the business behind the counter at Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, Superbook features some of the best odds boosts and promo bets anywhere. So download the Superbook Sportsbook app or visit superbook.com to start your battle against Vegas right now. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Chevrolet GMC. Have you ever thought to yourself, buying a car online? That sounds like a nightmare. But fear not, my friends. With Newton FastPass, it's easier than catching a leprechaun. In fact, our system is so user-friendly that even a leprechaun can do it. And let me tell you, those little guys are notoriously bad with technology. Also, with Newton FastPass, you're practically guaranteed to get a great deal. It's like finding a 4-leaf clover in a field of overpriced cars. And who doesn't love a good deal? I mean, I'd be willing to bet that even the most skeptical among us would feel lucky to snag a great deal on a new car. That's not all. When you use Newton FastPass, we'll throw in a free leprechaun to help you navigate the process. And trust me, these little guys know their way around a car deal. Just be sure to keep an eye on them because they can be a little mischievous. So what are you waiting for? Visit NewtonChevroletGMC.com and join the ranks of lucky car buyers. You might even feel like you're living in your own personal pot of gold. And remember, with Newton FastPass, you're always in luck.
20 years ago, when Genesis Diamonds came to Nashville, this was one of the most expensive cities in America for diamond jewelry. Our radical approach and no middleman pricing changed that forever. And now we're doing it again, this time with lab-grown diamonds. We were shocked to find out what the other mall stores and the other big radio advertisers were charging. They sell their platinum 4-carat VS2 lab-grown earrings for $15,720. We sell them for $6,900. Their 3.08 carat lab-grown round diamond with G-Color VS2 clarity is $10,045. We sell it for $5,900. Looks like they might be going back to the old ways. If they're charging this much on lab-grown diamonds, kind of makes you wonder what else they're selling at the same outrageous markup. Nashville, we are not going backwards. At Genesis Diamonds, our non-commissioned trusted advisors are here to give you all the information with details you can trust and prices you can count on. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Anyone want to tell me what happened? Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Robby and Rexrode podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Join 102.5 The Game and the Preds Energy Team at Brewhouse South in Cool Springs this Thursday, March the 30th for the Preds Road Watch Party as the Preds take on the Pittsburgh Penguins. You can stop by and enjoy Brewhouse South 70s beer on tap and classic American menu along with Cajun Southwestern Island comfort food. That's 102.5 The Game and the Preds Energy Team at Brewhouse South in Cool Springs. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. We are live from our 102.5 The Game studio. Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Jim Diamond from the Associated Press coming up at 7:30 talking Preds. Right now taking your thoughts on the Preds at 615-737-1025. JC in Goodlettsville on the text line says, thoughts on Ryan Johansson's future? And that's another part of this. I mean, Johansson has been out for the past several weeks, and it's one of those things where I believe if the timeline matched up, if they made the playoffs, he could have been back by like mid-May. Now, that didn't look likely that that's going to happen at this point, and it does leave a lot of Predators fans questioning what does the future for Ryan Johansson look like. He's got 2 years left on his deal after this year. He's getting paid $8 million a year, so obviously that's a hefty cap hit. I still have huge doubts that the Predators would be able to trade him and trade that contract. So then the question becomes, are you going to play him and you're going to keep him around at $8 million a year? And I think if they do that, given some of the emergence of some of the other young guys, like a Parsonen or like a Glass, especially guys that are playing down the middle, Novak, you could throw in that conversation too. Like if he's back next year, is Ryan Johansson playing in your top 6, or is he moving down to the 3rd or 4th line? And do you really want to be paying a guy $8 million a year to be playing on your 3rd line? These are all the questions that the Predators have to answer. But if you can't trade him, what do? Maybe he becomes a candidate for a buyout. I do think, and look, this is really a Predators ownership question more than it is anything else. I mean, they paid a buyout for Kyle Turris. We saw that happen, and they're still paying him. Would the Predators ownership group be okay with paying Ryan Johansson to no longer be here? Like, I do think it's worth discussing. Like, I think there is a chance that they could go the buyout route with Ryan Johansson, because I do think a Parsonen or a Glass or a Novak or whoever you want in that role, they need to have a little bit of upward mobility. Like, you got to be able to let them play and move up in a top 6 role. So I wonder what the appetite looks like for the Predators for a buyout for a Ryan Johansson. Or is it as simple as he's back, he's got 2 years left on his deal, he's going to play out the 2 years, and then you'll have cap space freeing up after that?
I definitely think the Predators are going to do their due diligence to try and see if they can move off this guy. I mean, when you look at the center position on this team, I think that has the most young talent, and I think that you have 3 solid guys like you had just mentioned right there, because I think that's part of the equation here is that, you know, you have these young guys that are coming in and producing that have a lot of upside to them, especially when you're talking about a guy with the size like Juuso Parsonen. And I know that he's not playing right now, but, I mean, he was having a really good season thus far. Cody Glass playing with the top line. Tommy Novak, you know, for the last 30 games, he's right under a point per game player. And he's been a playmaker and had an assist last night, a really good one. So it's where does he fall? And that was going to be my question to you before you brought it up was, you know, is Johansson a top 6 center right now? And that's a genuine question with how good these guys are playing. So I think a buyout definitely has to be in the question for the Preds. But, you know, kind of knowing them and what they've done here recently, I don't think that would be the case. I don't think that they want to pay a guy that's not playing for them, especially down the road when they're trying to rebuild. You know, they freed up a lot of cap space. You know, I feel like Ryan Johansson right now, I mean, that would give you 4 solid centers for next season. That's just one less position that you'd have to worry about. So if they wanted to do a quick turnaround, I feel like that they would keep him regardless of how much he's being paid or regardless of which line that they would put him on. So I would elect that they would probably keep him just because they don't want to pay him. They don't want to pay that guy. They don't want to lose out on money for no reason and just throwing that down the drain, especially for $8 million for a guy like that. I mean, he's getting paid just as much as Forsberg and the rest of them.
By the way, quick shout out to BJ, who made the 12 and under Predators youth hockey team this weekend, who is listening all the way to the hockey rink this morning. Shout out to making the team. Congrats to BJ.
Shout out.
Way to go, BJ, for making the 12 and under Predators youth hockey team. Now, speaking of the Preds, and we brought this up before the break, what does this all mean for John Hines? Because, look, the roster right now, I mean, it's not good enough. I mean, and I got into this with a couple of Predators fans last week. Like, from the injuries, from selling off to everything they've done, like, it's not a playoff roster. And I think it's been impressive that they've hung around as much as they have. And like you said, Junie, they're fighting. These young guys have come in and they're playing really hard, and that's been a lot of fun to watch. And guys like Novak and Evangelista, like I watched Luke Evangelista play, and I've talked about this a lot, kind of dating back to last year. I think he's going to be really good. Like I really like what I've seen from him. Cody Glass continues to be productive. You know, there's a lot to like about the young guys that have come in. Now, having said that, both things can be true. There's a lot to like. They're not good right now. I mean, they're struggling to get to 2 goals a game. So we know that. We know that the roster's in bad shape and the injuries have made it worse. What does it all mean for John Hines? Because Barry Trotz is coming in. He's taking over on July 1st. And ultimately, the future of John Hines and his coaching staff, Barry Trotz is going to have to be the one that determines that. And he's talked about it at his press conference last month. You know, he's gonna evaluate, and he's gonna take some time to evaluate. And he didn't want to comment on, you know, the status of John Hines at that point. But, you know, we are quickly approaching April and quickly approaching the end of the regular season here for the Predators. And right now, it's not looking like they're making the playoffs. So I do wonder, like, if you're Barry Trotz, and he's been in meetings, he's been around the team. You know, John Hines came on our show and talked about, giving Barry Trotz all the access he needs to have in order, for him to make decisions moving forward here. I do wonder what all this means for John Hines and what Barry Trotz's evaluation of him to this point has been. I think it's easy when you make a change at general manager to just naturally assume, well, that's probably not good news for the coach. Like that's the first thought I had was like, Barry Trotz coming in, you're changing general managers. That's probably not good news for John Hines. I've been around Barry Trotz a lot. I will say I have no idea what his general manager style is going to be. He's never done it before. But I will say, just from being around him, he's a fair guy. Like, he's going to give people an opportunity. I wonder what his impression of Hines has been to this point, and he's going to have to make a decision on that pretty soon.
Well, from what I heard, that they've both been sitting together, kind of I think that they've been picking each other's brains a bit. And my thing on this is Barry's going into his first year as general manager. Does he really want to worry about coaching turnover in his first year? Or does he want to bring back John Hines, who, I would say in the beginning of the year I was on the outs with, but with this whole transition and with moving off these guys, and I'm looking at the Predators, play as a team, I feel like since the deadline they've been more energized. I feel like they've been a lot more tightened up, especially on the power play. The beginning of the year, their power play was awful. They couldn't get the puck movement. They couldn't really get in good sets. And now I'm seeing the power play be a lot more efficient. I'm seeing, the passing and transition a lot more cleaner, a lot more tighter. And I'm feeling like, John Hines was hired to get the most out of the young players. And now that these veterans that weren't getting it done for this team are gone and on the outs, we've seen the young guys come in and step up and play well. And that's what this guy was hired to do. I feel like he at least gets next year with how he's kind of coached down the stretch. At the trade deadline, losing an Ekholm, losing a Tanner Jeannot, losing a Mikhail Granlund. I know they weren't playing the best this year, but they were still effective players for this roster. And the fact that they have gotten better with the young guys that they've called up from Milwaukee and the guys that they've acquired through the trade, I feel like some of that has to fall on John Hines' shoulders. And I think that he at least deserves next year with what he's done with less on the tail end of this season. I'm really interested to see how Barry Trotz views that. I mean, one of the questions that I have that he would never tell us when he got hired, but when he took the job, like, is there a coach that he's got in mind? Because we see that happen in sports. Like, a new general manager comes in, and they've got their guy that they want, and that's the move they make. I don't know if that was the case or not. I mean, if it was, Barry Trotz would never say that publicly. But I do wonder, what is his viewpoint on John Hines and the coaching staff as they move forward. We'll get into that and a lot more with Jim Diamond from the Associated Press coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Hey, this is Roman Yossi, and this is Smashwell.
Going to the front of the net, he scores. What a gorgeous move. Roman Yossi.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The choice is yours, Wednesdays at 8:45. Brought to you by Jarrett Companies. Now hiring experienced sprinkler experts. Go to jarrettfire.com. JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, a company above and beyond industry standards.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture eats strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Men, this is Evan Bass with the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and I've been helping men with sexual health issues for many years. I've seen the pain and anxiety that men walk into the clinic with when erectile dysfunction is affecting them. And I also know the heartache and difficulty it can bring to their partner. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've been successfully treating men for ED for many years now. We've seen the amazing impacts that those treatments have on a man's confidence and positivity. And we've seen the wonderful things those treatments also do for a man's relationship. That's why I'm pleased to announce that we are now offering the same great services we offered our Nashville clinic at our new location in Franklin. which will make it much more convenient for those men living south of Nashville to get treated. So call us today and book your appointment at our Midtown location or at our new clinic in Cool Springs. Your first visit is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
Progressive asks, what do a diehard fan watching the game at home?
With 4 seconds left.
A poorly placed good luck candle.
Don't let me down, candle. Kick is up.
A last-second improbable win.
It's good! Yes!
And flammable sports-themed curtains have in common?
Whoa, jeez, whoa!
They can scorch your big win high and your beloved sports memorabilia.
Not my unwashed 1997 game-worn jersey! This is what dreams are made of!
Bundle your home and auto with Progressive for great savings and round-the-clock protection. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you're always looking for ways to position your operation to create opportunities and move on them faster. With Bank of America, you get access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2023 Bank of America, N.A.
When you want live and local.
If they were just better at the offensive line.
You can be a contender in the AFC again.
They've had more winning seasons than not. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years?
The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt head coach Jerry Stackhouse. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Junnie Riddle. Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Monday morning. We are talking Preds, and to help us do that, we go to the legend himself on our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We welcome in our good friend Jim Diamond from the Associated Press. Jimmy, good morning. How are you?
Robert, I am outstanding. How about yourself?
Wonderful. Thanks for taking time to be with us this morning. Jim, we were just talking about the Barry Trotz part of this, and obviously you are very familiar with Barry Trotz and have covered him his entire time here in Nashville. Number one, what kind of a general manager do you think he's going to be? And number two, what do you think this all means for John Hines as Barry Trotz is making his evaluation?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question as far as what kind of a GM he's going to be. He's worked under two of the kind of most legendary GMs in history, in David Poyle and Lou Lamoriello. So I think he's probably going to take a lot from what he's seen from them, what he's liked about them, what he hasn't liked about them. One thing about Barry is he's just been a student of the game his whole life, and he takes in everything, he sees everything, he notices everything. So I think he's obviously really detail-oriented in everything he does. So I don't think you're going to see any kind of knee-jerk reaction decisions made by him. I think he's going to take everything in and make kind of educated decisions. But having coached for close to 30 years in the league, he knows the players, he knows the GMs, he knows everything that goes on in the game. So I'm curious to see how it goes, but I don't think he's going to be, kind of like the Wild Wild West or anything, making, huge changes and decisions without good reason or without informed research on his part.
Jim, what do you make of the way that the team has played really since the deadline? Obviously, the injuries have just really escalated here in the last couple of weeks, but the young guys like Evangelista and Novak and Glass, other young guys you want to point to, that this team's gotten pretty young really all across the board right now. What do you make of the way that this team has played given the circumstances over the last couple of weeks?
I thought John Hines gave an excellent answer to just about this type of question last night when he was asked, because he had every right to use the injuries as an excuse, and with Duchesne going down last night. But he said it's an opportunity for these young guys. It's their first time in the NHL, so they want to make an impression. They're doing everything they can to playing for a roster spot for next year even. But I think they're fun to watch. There's not a lot of pressure on these guys. Nobody expects the team to make the playoffs or do anything. So, these guys are just going out using their instincts, and a lot of them, like you mentioned, are super talented, and it kind of shows with what they're doing on the ice, and they're getting some results. So it's kind of fun to watch. You don't expect them to make any noise here down the stretch, just like we said with the injuries. But it's nice to see how kind of some names you've heard over the last couple of years coming through the system are starting to pan out.
We're talking to Jim Diamond from the AP. Jim, Robby and I were kind of getting into Ryan Johansson. With a lot of these young guys that we were speaking about, the center position has kind of become a strength of the Predators. He still has 2 years left on his deal, $8 million a year. What do you foresee as the future of Ryan Johansson with the Nashville Predators?
I think his role will continue to diminish. I don't foresee a buyout in his future. I just think that kind of hampers the team way longer than it should, even just keeping his contract, since the buyout window basically doubles the length of the contract. I just, he hasn't been super effective the last couple of seasons for long stretches. So I think you're going to have a very expensive kind of role player over the next couple of seasons, because the team's not going to be great probably the next couple of seasons anyway. So if you just kind of let his contract run out, then you have a good amount of money on the cap going forward after that. But I think he's going to have less and less of a role these next couple of seasons.
Now, Jim, Tommy Novak has been probably the biggest surprise on this Nashville Predators team this year with the amount of production that he's had. He's kind of come out of nowhere for people. What did you know about Tommy Novak before all of this offensive production? And if so, do you think that this is something that he can continue for years to come and be a pivotal part of this Predators rebuild?
Yeah, I knew so little about him even last year when he was called up, because he's listed on the official roster as Thomas, but they always call him Tommy in the news releases. So, we're supposed to go by what's on the roster, but he's always Tommy. So we didn't even know what to call him in our game stories. But again, he's a guy that has made the most of a kind of a golden opportunity that's been handed to him as far as ice time and roles and power play chances, and he's putting the puck in the net. And it's funny to hear kind of the opposing coaches talk about some of these guys, and even they're like, I don't know who these guys are, but they're making some headway and they're scoring some goals. But he is he's around the puck a lot, and I think that's a good sign for any player. And when he does, he can do some stuff with it. Hines. One of these recent games, there's been so many lately, just said something like he just has swagger with the puck. And I think that's a pretty accurate description in that, things happen. He makes plays.
Jim, we've talked for a while just about the direction of the team, and obviously David Poile identified they needed to sell at the deadline. They've done that. They created a ton of cap space, and they created a lot of assets for themselves coming back. What do you make of just now that we're in the rearview mirror of the deadline, the moves that have been made? We've talked about Trotz coming in. How well positioned is Barry Trotz to maneuver with this roster, in your opinion, as he takes over on July 1st?
Short term, I don't think there's a lot. Maybe there could be some trade packages or anything coming along, but I think this is a longer term, not rebuild, but just kind of restocking of the cabinet, because I think they've basically emptied Milwaukee out for who's on the Nashville roster now. So you're looking at needing some depth and some future prospects for this team, because like I said, I don't think they're competitive in the next two seasons. So I don't think there's going to be any sort of immediate impact or major trades or anything that's going to bring in any sort of talent or any major free agent signing. So I think they need to draft and spend their money wisely over these next couple of seasons while they do look to get back on the other side of being in the playoff picture.
What about the decor? I mean, you've got, obviously, Ekholm is now out. We know what Yossi is. There's the McDonough contract. They got Tyson Berry back in the deal from Edmonton, and then you take a look at Carrier, who's been hurt a lot this year. Fabro, who I don't think has been very good this year, they just signed to an extension. You get Cal Foote back in the Tampa Bay trade, and he's been okay. And then there's that Jeremy Lozon deal that you and I talk about a lot. But what do you make of the future of the blue line and what that looks like right now with not a whole lot coming up in the pipeline either?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you saying that Foote has been okay is generous. Lozon's actually looked better to me in some of these
I agree.
Games and opportunities with more ice time. I still think that contract is ridiculous, but that is absolutely one area they need to address. Tyson Berry is really surprised me. I thought he was more of an offensive defenseman, and I don't know if it's just by necessity that he's playing more minutes and more defensive roles, but he's looked good in all three zones, I thought. But that's absolutely an area they need to address, because we've seen some of the call-ups from Milwaukee that haven't been great in their time. And like, this is the first time in Nashville Predators history that it seems like they haven't had 2 or 3 NHL-ready defensemen in Milwaukee to come in and make waves. So I think that's absolutely a position that they need to address, looking longer term, because it's been a struggle to watch them, with the, like you said, the OC and Carrier injuries, and impressive. But like you mentioned, he's been hurt a lot, and that's just not a great foreshadowing long term. But you just hope it's maybe a bad sequence of events that hopefully rights its way for what could be a very good, very exciting young player.
It was a big weekend, Jim, for the Nashville Predators as they unveiled their first ever statue outside of Bridgestone Arena of their legendary goalie Pekka Rinne. How do you think Pekka Rinne will be remembered as an all-time goalie across the NHL?
Yeah, I think he's just he was so steady for so long, and was really kind of the identity of the Predators to some degree, because sure, they had guys like Shea Weber and Yossi and everything, but Pekka Rinne gave them just some historic performances that kept them in playoff races and won them playoff series. And I think years ago, Barry Trotz called Pekka the most humble superstar he's ever met, and I think that was just a perfect description of who Pekka is, both on and off the ice. Just you wouldn't know he was just a world-class goaltender and athlete if you just met him on the street. He's just that genuine of a person. And in Finland, a hockey goaltender is really kind of one of the most recognizable sports figures, and for him to develop there, he's got such a reputation on both sides of the Atlantic. But he just did so much for the Predators, and I think for the city, he's really he earned that statue, that's for sure.
Jim, you're the best. Thanks for taking time to be with us this morning, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, boys. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Jim Diamond from the Associated Press, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. We'll take your thoughts, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Coming up next, it's time for the Rob Rant here on Robby and Rexrode. You can check it out every morning at 7:45. Speaking of the Preds, tomorrow's your chance to participate in Preds Pick to Click, brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes and Benchmark Realty and Superbook Sports. If you correctly guess a Preds player that scores a goal in the game tomorrow night, you win a pair of tickets to an upcoming Preds home game. Your next chance to participate is tomorrow morning at 8:45. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robby and Rexrode for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Preds fans, Superbook wants to send one lucky fan a pair of tickets on the ice. Text the keyword Superbook, all one word, to 615-737-1025 for entry to win. Join the Nashville Area Chamber of Commerce April 3rd through 6th for an exclusive look into what makes Nashville the IT city. Whether you're new to town or a Nashville native, Intro Nashville gives you the opportunity to become engaged and connected to our city's community. During this multi-day immersive program, you'll hear from over 20 community leaders and industry experts whose storytelling unlocks a comprehensive view of our city and region. Gain historical and economic perspective on Nashville while establishing relationships with local business leaders. Register now at intronash.com.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-484-5131 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-484-5131. That's 800-484-5131. What do you have to lose? Call 800-484-5131. Again, 800-484-5131.
He's got big takes.
It's not that freaking hard. Hand the ball to Henry.
Small takes.
You have to defend your decision.
But all takes.
They win, they lose. Just invested a lot into this game. I thought it was the worst press conference.
He is Jared Stillman.
I guess I'm just not a very good coach, Jared.
Weekdays from 2 to 6, Stillman and Company. Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Good morning.
Good morning. You're locked into Robby and Rexrode.
I had the radio on. I'm listening to
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Don't make me angry.
Sometimes you have to tell someone to pound sand.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
This is the Rob Rant. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
We're vibing, Robby.
Hey, Robby. Still vibing, kid?
Still vibing, bud. We're vibing, Robby. Vibing, 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 vibe, 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 vibe. We're vibing, Robby.
And it is that time of the day, time for the Rob Rant here on Robby and Rexrode. You can check it out every morning at 7:45 here on the program. Thanks to Ryan Johansson for his assistance there, bringing us back in on the Rob Rant here today.
I was like, "What is that?" I don't think I've heard that one before. Is that one new, Michelle?
Well, it's in the chamber.
Yeah, it's in the chamber. It's an old one though. Porth actually made that sound, so.
Yeah. It's in the chamber.
It's a good one.
Takes us back a couple of years. 615-737-1025. So I think I've ranted about something similar to this before, but I was reminded of it, and it was slightly from a different perspective this past week. So I've gone through a rant before about pedestrians downtown, especially, that even when there's like a walking sign or you have the right of way, like just kind of act like you're in a hurry when I'm in the car down there, when you're walking across the crosswalk. Just give me a brisk pace. Don't stop in the middle of the street and check your phone. All these other things, all that's, I mean, I feel like it's not that much to ask for. But I went to a Preds game last Thursday, took my family with me, my wife and my parents. And we were kind of killing some time before the game. So My dad had never really seen like the 5th and Broadway area over there, so we went and we checked out all that. But I'm looking around and like we're crossing the street from the arena to go over to the 5th and Broadway part of it. And like the amount of people that while the crosswalk has the bright orange hand up, which means don't walk, and there are cars coming in all directions. The amount of pedestrians that just go and they just walk across the street in the middle of traffic while cars are coming. I couldn't believe it. The amount of trust that these people apparently have in people behind the wheel is amazing to me. I don't know if these are people that live here. I don't know if we were dealing with people that are out of town and are visiting Broadway. As you know, Junnie, a lot of people like to visit our city, which is great. Come spend your money. All that's fine. But like I was blown away at the pedestrian behavior down there in Nashville. I was just walking across the street while cars are coming, like nothing was ever happening out there. The pedestrian behavior in this city has really taken a turn for the worse over the course of the last 10, 15 years. I'm a native Nashvilleian. I've been around Broadway a lot. I know what it was like down there. It's always been interesting. There's always been some interesting folk that have wandered around out there at times, especially when a little bit of alcohol is involved. But my goodness, the amount of people that just go and they are like, yeah, I don't think this car is going to run me over. It's amazing the trust level. These people, they're either so trusting or they're just that ignorant. And I can't really figure out which one it is, maybe a combination of the two. But I was blown away this past Thursday as I was walking around. I'm like, there are people left and right just going across the street while full-on traffic is coming out of Broadway and heading up towards like the Mumbrian and all that. I couldn't believe the amount of people just going in the middle of a green light. Nobody got hit. I mean, that was good. I was really hoping that nobody would get hit, but I guess their trust was proven because the car stopped. But I mean, people laying on the horn, sticking their head out the window, yelling at these people, walking left and right. I couldn't believe the decorum or lack thereof that was down there this past Thursday as I was wandering around.
It's got to be the New Yorkers that have moved into town. What do you think? That, but
Michelle,
excuse me?
Your thoughts?
New York, from New York City, Michelle. You are upstate New York.
I will say, though, I mean, when people jaywalk, I think people come from New York City and then come to any city and just jaywalk. It's so different in New York City because it's stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. And you're going like 2 miles an hour. Like you're going so slow because there's so many lights and so many stoppages. Sure. And then you get to any other city like Chicago, here in Nashville. I mean, these are not little stop starts. We got full on roads. Like you cannot be running across there.
People going 35 miles an hour.
Yeah, it is wild.
I'll tell you another thing that bothered me when it comes to like pedestrians and driving in the car was when I would come down here and then the birds came out.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
the scooters.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. If you ride a scooter in the middle of the road, like you're taking up a lane, like not off to the side. I'm talking about like traffic has to go around you.
Which look,
you on your scooter.
I thought those things were gone. Like I thought those things were gone.
Oh, they're not.
We weren't dealing with them. And then you're right. Like this for the past few months, I've been looking around like these bird scooters are everywhere. Like they're just back. Now, I do think that they've tried to do some things that make them a little less invasive. Like back in the day, a few years ago, those things were causing problems left and right. Like people were falling around all over them, and there were some accidents that happened. I haven't heard about many of those lately, but it could be a madhouse down there. Like I think for people that don't go downtown a lot, it's a little overwhelming. You're like, there's so many people down here. There's so much to do, which is great. Like there's a lot of really cool areas down there now that are fun to explore. But I just the trust level, and Matt on the text line says it's just liquid courage, Robbie. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what it was the other night. I don't know. But I just couldn't believe. Like I'm not that trusting of an individual when it comes to other people, especially in vehicles. Like, I'm not putting my life in your hands by me just walking in the middle of the road while there's a green light going on. No, thank you.
Getting in line for Kid Rocks is not worth it. I'll put it that way. And I'll tell you this too: it's not locals. When I was up at Western Kentucky in college and I'd come down here, Broadway was always the place to go and it was the place to be. I moved down here and I never, ever, ever want to go to Broadway ever again unless I have to.
Absolutely.
It is definitely the tourist. It is definitely people from out of town, from bigger cities that are used to just, walking aimlessly across the street and knowing that the drivers in that city are going to be on the lookout for you to be crossing the street because it's it's a constant thing. But that's like the one spot downtown where people just do not care.
Oh yeah.
And like you said, I'm surprised that nobody's gotten hit yet. Especially the X You know how they had they
the
cross diagonally,
go
and
diagonal.
everybody's going
really
in
messes
different
people.
directions. I can't even tell you how many groups I have lost in that kind of jumble, and that's even when you have the green light to be able to cross the street. Just the fact that people are aimlessly just darting across while traffic is going through a green light. I mean,
it's crazy.
That's kamikaze style.
Nashville Protest Fish on Twitter says, you won't cross the streets in Vegas on the Strip without using the crossworks. You'll get run over for sure. Everyone jaywalks in Nashville, though. I guess it's just like a recent thing. Now, we've had the conversation on the show, and people have called in like they should probably just close off Broadway to traffic and just help it be, foot traffic on Broadway.
Yes.
I don't know the logistics that go behind that. I couldn't tell you. Now, this wasn't really like actual Broadway. I mean, it was, but it was more up, by like the Mumbrian where all this was taking place the other day. But, I mean, that's worse because it's like, at least by Broadway, people are looking out for people. Like up there by Demumbrian, there's people just zooming because they're trying to beat the light and all this stuff, and people still are just walking right in front of them.
Well,
hey guys,
I feel
have a
like
good day.
I feel like too. Yeah, Nashville's a city, but it's also not very walker friendly. And when people are then, choosing to just, I'm just going to run across. I see a car coming 35 miles towards me, but don't worry, I've had a bucket of beer and I'm good. I can outrun them. Oh, it's quite scary sometimes. But I do think it's smart that at nighttime that they block the street off.
Yeah.
Because that's just worse.
It was an eye-opening experience for me this past Thursday. Obviously I'm around Bridgestone Arena a lot, but usually I just get out of my car and then I go in the building and I'm there. I'm working. I don't spend a whole lot of time like walking around just because I don't. But that was the first time I'd done that in a while the other day, and I was like, wow. It's a little different down here now.
And I think it's gotten worse especially since the pandemic. A lot of, I feel like tourism has come up a lot, especially around here. Everybody's wanting to get down here, bridal parties, all that good stuff.
It's about to really kick off coming up when it gets warmer.
Oh, yeah. Something to look forward to.
Yeah. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. This has been the Rob Rant. You can check it out every morning at 7:45 here on the program. Coming up next, we'll be joined by Corey Curtis from News 2. We'll get his thoughts on the Titans and all things NFL as the NFL owners meetings beginning today. That is next. Make sure you join 102.5 The Game and the Preds Energy Team at the Rusty Nail in Hermitage on Monday, April the 3rd for the Preds Road Watch Party as the Preds take on the Dallas Stars. You can enjoy $3 two-lane beer drafts, a great local atmosphere with a large outdoor patio and a volleyball court section as well. Plus, try some of their great food, especially the wings. That's 102.5 The Game and the Preds Energy Team at the Rusty Nail coming up on Monday, April 3rd. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
Most people pick them to make the playoffs before the season even started.
And your source for Nashville sports.
He can still wait for 5 more games before he makes that decision.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Time for the Preds Report.
Presented by Newton Nissan.
The Nashville Predators closed out their homestand, going 1-2, but a thrilling end to the game against the Maple Leafs yesterday at Bridgestone Arena. Predators were down 3-1, but scored a 6-on-5 goal. Here's a shot and a score! The Predators score 6-on-5 to pull within 1, and a minute 42 remains.
Well, Tyson Barrie again gets that shot through. Good job on keeping the puck in. Looked like it hit a Toronto player stick on the way to the net.
That goal, Tyson Barrie's 13th of the year, but the Predators could get no closer. They ended up dropping the game 3-2. Up next for the Predators, they take on the Bruins tomorrow night at TD North Garden. Pre-game at 5, the game at 6.
All the best car deals in Smashville start at Newton Nissan. Visit them at Newton Nissan of Gallatin or Newton Nissan South in Shelbyville.
This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Sometimes the best part of the day is when the day is done. The Rusty Nail in Hermitage has been the best part of the day for many since their doors opened. They provide a great local atmosphere with a big back patio and volleyball courts, plus great drinks like $3 2-lane beer drafts and great food, especially the wings. Call now to reserve your private events or corporate parties, or simply call up a few old pals and tell them to meet you down at the Rusty Nail. See you there. Cheers.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics wants to thank their patients for voting them the #1 orthopedic practice in the Nashville Scene Poll for 3 years in a row. Their physicians specialize in spine, joint replacement, knee, hip, upper extremity, and other orthopedic conditions. At Houston Clinic Orthopedics, they adhere to all CDC guidelines for the patient's and staff safety. To experience world-class orthopedic care and see a list of all physicians, visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online today.
Discover credit cards automatically double all the cash back you earn at the end of your first year, which means... Wait, hold up. Question for the audio engineer.
Go ahead.
Did I read that right? Discover automatically doubles all your cash back?
Yeah, that's what the script says.
So if I get a Discover card right now, I can earn twice the cash back.
Apparently. Wait! Unlimited first-year cash back match, only from Discover. See terms and learn more at discover.com/match.
Swinging the bats. This is the Commodore Report. I'm Kevin Ingram. 2 weeks into SEC play, Vanderbilt baseball is 6-0 for the first time in more than 50 years, recording a second straight sweep with an 11-7 win at Mississippi State on Sunday. Home runs were again the story, with Davis Diaz going deep twice and Jack Bolger hitting a 3-run homer as the Vandy boys finished the weekend with a dozen home runs. Sam Leboki pitched 2 2/3 scoreless innings and got the win. The 55 runs scored in the 3 wins set a Vanderbilt record for a conference series, and the Commodores are 19-5 overall. Vandy hosts Lipscomb on Tuesday at Hawkins Field. Tickets available for the makeup game for $5. You can go to viewcommodores.com and find all the info. First scrimmage of spring practice for Vanderbilt football back on Saturday, with the Commodores taking the field at Ensworth. Coach Clark Lee said it was a good back and forth.
One thing I loved about our defense today was just when you felt like the offense was getting momentum, maybe it was explosive play, I thought AJ and Will had a really nice connection there early. You know, the defense found a way to stand tall and to make a stop.
Team 3 for Coach Lee continues practice this week with another Saturday scrimmage on the way and finishing up with a black and gold spring game on April 8th. Both Vanderbilt tennis teams in action. The Vandy women returned to the win column with a 6-1 victory at Missouri, while the men's squad came up short against Ole Miss, falling 5-2 on Sunday. And Vanderbilt women's golf finished 8th at the Clemson Invitational, with Lynn Lim tying for 8th individually. That was the final event of regular season play. That is the Commodore Report on 102.5 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
1, 2, 3. I think it was a good game. Had a couple of big plays.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Junnie Riddle, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Monday morning. And as we do every Monday morning at 8 o'clock, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our favorite person on the earth, Corey Curtis from News 2. Corey, good morning. How are you?
You know, I resent that statement because, I mean, you're limiting it to one planet, and I think that's cutting me a little short.
What about the Milky Way?
I'll settle for a galaxy.
Okay,
yeah.
Good. Thank you. We appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. Corey, we were talking about wide receiver earlier. Obviously, the Titans.
I kind of had a feeling that was going to come up.
I bet you did. Titans have not really addressed that yet. Now, look, in all fairness, the veteran pool in free agency is not exactly awe-inspiring when it comes to wide receiver. We know that the draft is still yet to come, and I would assume the Titans will spend at least one, maybe a couple of picks on wide receiver. My question to you is there a way where you feel comfortable about the wide receiver room heading into this season, given what we know about the options that are out there right now for the Tennessee Titans?
No, not really. And I mean, part of that is just their inability to keep guys on the field and have quality depth at this point. Because right now you're just looking for 3 quality starters, let alone looking for depth. I mean, like NWI can play. He can give you snaps because we know, he can be Cody Hollister, and when he's on the field, you're going to run the football. But he can catch the ball a little bit, too. I think he did have 50 catches a couple of years ago. So, he's not a game breaker. He's kind of a guy who fits what you need him to do, but he's not really going to stretch the field really usually or anything like that. And then you need Traylon to be Traylon. You need Kyle Phillips to be what you drafted him to be. So you need a bunch of stuff that you really haven't seen to this point. And so that's kind of scary. And yeah, they haven't. I mean, I would like for them to add a veteran, but which one, I don't know.
Right.
Because you don't want bad contracts. I mean, we've seen what bad contracts have done to this team. I mean, the Julio Jones trade, kind of crippling for this team because he's still counting against the cap, and I think they traded away a second and a fourth. They could really use those picks right now, and they're just not going to have them. And so, I know fans are frustrated, and they should be, because you'd like to see a team have more options. But I don't think you can make desperation make you make bad trades and sign bad contracts because, you always say don't let one problem become 2 or one loss become 2. You can't make, a bad roster situation in 1 year turn it into a bad roster situation in multiple years, which is what we've kind of seen has led to this year.
Well, with that in mind, is there a player with more, I guess, I don't know if pressure is the right word or responsibility is the right word, whatever word you want to use, than Treylon Burks heading into this season, given the state of what the receiving room is around him?
Well, I would say he's got the same pressure on him that A.J. Brown had. Well, that's probably not fair. Because, when Corey Davis left, it was pretty much all on A.J., but they brought in Julio. Julio just never really played or practiced. And so it seemed like he was always on A.J. to kind of be that guy. But yeah, I mean, he's kind of got to be the passing game. The one thing we're not talking about is Chig.
Yep.
And how big of a part of the passing game, he can be. We saw Marcus Mariota have his best season in year 2, and really his only 2 targets that year were Rashard Matthews and Delaney Walker.
Yep.
So it can happen. That doesn't mean I would want it to happen that way. But you'd certainly like to have some more viable targets, and you'd also, by the way, like to have someone who can stretch the field. And I know. You probably feel like Treylon can stretch the field. You'd like to have someone who can stretch the field for him so that you can get him the ball in the middle of the field and let him run through tacklers like A.J. did.
We're talking with Corey Curtis right now. Corey, Rand Carthon spoke yesterday at the NFL owners meeting about Kevin Byard and said that Kevin Byard and his team did not request to be released. But the fact of the matter is they still asked him to take a pay cut. What do you think the future with Kevin Byard in this team is, and do you think that they will try to move off from him this offseason?
It really is for a variety of reasons, but that one threw me for a loop. And if they're willing to ask him to take a pay cut, it tells me they're probably willing to move on if they absolutely have to. I don't know why you'd want to move on from him. I think he's still got plenty of good football left in him. He doesn't miss games. He's a leader. I mean, he checks every box. He makes plays that wins games. So I don't understand the thought of moving on from him other than, you want to completely, gut the ship. But if you're gonna move on from Kevin Byard, why haven't you moved on from Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill?
Yep.
I mean, if you're going to get rid of your best players for cap space and assets, get rid of all of them. Not just not just one. So these situations we've seen before, and sometimes they work themselves out, but in my lifetime, I find usually they don't. So I am prepared for the disappointment that it will not be worked out, but we'll see.
Now, Corey, with the remaining holes on this team and what they've done in free agency, a lot of smaller end deals, 1 to 2 years with guaranteed money involved with it. Does this kind of show that the Titans are kind of taking this year to evaluate where they are and what they have? And do you kind of see it as more of a rebuilding year than trying to be competitive with some of the rest of these AFC teams?
I think that's fair. I mean, because I don't know if they, it depends on if you think the cap is real or not. I think they're taking this year to try to kind of fix their cap issues. I think that, like I said, they also don't want to sign any bad contracts, which I think is smart, because everybody overpays in that first wave of free agency. But you've got to look at the roster realistically and say, what is this team? And it's not a team that doesn't look like it's going to compete with the elite teams in football. And so that's why I always feel like there are bigger moves coming this year, because we don't know what the plan is. Mike Vrabel ran Carthon, had him come out and said, this is what we're doing. And I just feel like, if you're gonna retool, rebuild, whatever, we talked about Kevin Byard, Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry. Those are all moves that make sense, but they're all still here. So if they're all still here and they want to be competitive this year, what's the next big move that's coming? Because to me, there has to be one, right? I mean, there's got to be a bigger move than has happened to this point. Are they waiting on the DeAndre Hopkins price tag to go down? Are they waiting for someone to get released? I don't know, but I feel like that there's got to be another move other than drafting players to be competitive for this season.
Corey Curtis from News 2 with us here on Robby and Rexrode. So, Corey, what are they doing at backup quarterback? Because I was talking about this earlier. To me, if Malik Willis comes into camp and he wins the job, then great. And you feel good about him being the backup quarterback, that's awesome. For that to be the plan heading into training camp, I think would be a massive mistake. So what are they doing at backup quarterback, do you think, now that Dobbs is gone?
Well, it certainly doesn't seem that they are in a hurry, because we all thought that Dobbs was a good fit. I mean, they all talked about what a good fit that he was, and he wanted to be back. So I'm surprised that he's not. But I think the realistic way to look at it is this: the cheapest way to do it, and they're clearly trying to save money up against the cap, is to have Malik Willis be your guy. And what do we always say about the backup quarterback? Ideally, he never plays.
Yep.
Okay? And so if you fix your offensive line to the point where your quarterback can survive the season, then you don't have to worry about him playing. And let's be realistic. You get to camp, first week or two, and you see Malik and you go, guys, we just don't think he's still ready. You can go get a guy. When did they get Josh Dobbs last season? I mean, they plucked him off the practice squad like week 10, right?
Yeah, like week 16, 15, something like that.
Yeah. All right. So, with the practice squads, you can do that. There's some leeway to just go and grab a quarterback and put him on your roster now. The Falcons did it with Logan Woodside. And so I think that, they're going to give Malik every opportunity to run the offense, touch the football, make plays, learn that they can. And if they get in this situation again, then they can go find somebody, because let's be realistic. When you're in that situation of having to play your backup quarterback, you're not winning many of those games anyway.
Corey, I'm looking at the NFL futures bets on FanDuel Sportsbook right now. And in the NFC North, The Detroit Lions are the favorite, followed by the Minnesota Vikings, followed by the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers in dead last. Are you prepared for this?
Yeah, I really am. I really am. I'm prepared for a 30-year run. You know, when I was a kid, when I was a little baby Bears fan, the Packers were terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, they were horrible. Lynn Dickey was their quarterback, and they just used to get the stew beat out of them every week. And the world was a much better place.
Corey Curtis.
If we can reset the galaxy to that, I think we'll all be good.
Just want to point out the Lions is the favorite to win the division, and right now Dan Campbell's the favorite for Coach of the Year. So make of that what you will. Corey Curtis with us here on Robby and Rexrode, joins us every Monday morning at 8 o'clock. Corey, thank you, sir. We appreciate you as always.
Appreciate it, Corey. You guys have a good day. Let's go Owls, right?
Yes, let's go Owls. Absolutely. FAU all the way. Thank you, Corey. Corey Curtis with us every Monday morning at 8 o'clock here on the program. We'll take your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Speaking of the Owls, the tournament is heating up, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. All you have to do is go to FanDuel.com/Rob and sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. And you can wager on everything from the money line to point spreads to which team will be cutting down the nets. You heard Corey bring up FAU there. They've been really good. I think I'm taking them, and I'll go with UConn as well in the other matchup. But you can take it any way you want to take it. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Don't miss your shot at a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/Rob to sign up. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
The crowd is standing on its feet. It's in the hole! It's in the hole!
Join 102.5 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament, benefiting Souls for Souls, June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs.
Be the ball.
Support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at thegamenashville.com/golf.
Attention all fire and safety line experts. Middle Tennessee's fastest growing fire protection company is looking for experienced service technicians, designers, and sprinkler system experts like you. Tired of working for a large corporate employer? Work for a company where you're more than just a number. Jarrett Fire Protection is owned and operated by Nashville natives and wants to invite you to grow with their amazing team.
Hi, I'm Jason Jarrett, owner of Jarrett Companies. I'm looking to hire experienced sprinkler experts and will offer a sign-on bonus of up to $5,000 for certified professionals. In addition to our great benefits that include a 401k match, PTO, and top pay with annual bonuses, we will also provide you with the top-of-the-line tools, trucks, and equipment that you need to grow your career. Our customer base is large and business is booming with many opportunities for advancement. Give us a call or go online to jarrettfire.com and apply today to become a member of our family and protect our community. That's JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, where we are above and beyond industry standards.
Gary Ashton here. People walk up to me all the time and say, don't sell without the intel. This message couldn't be more true. Right now is a fantastic time to buy or sell your home in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. No one has more intel than the Gary Ashton team. So what is this intel we keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without stagings or showings? Intel on where to find your next home so that you can sell your current home while the market is hot? And intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity. For more intel, visit GaryAshton.com, where we can give you the insight and the most up-to-date real estate intel in Nashville. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate team of the Nashville Predators. Get the confidence to sell your home and find the dream address without the stress. Visit us today at GaryAshton.com. That's GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game and on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Hey!
Oh, yeah. And like us on Facebook, too. locked into Robby and Rexrode.
Every morning, first thing.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Junnie Riddle, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Monday morning. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by Superbook. We are live from our 102.5 The Game studio, brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Thanks to Corey Curtis for being with us in the last segment. Got a texter that says, nice to hear Corey reference his all-time favorite player, Marcus Mariota. A lot of people give Corey and Joe a lot of flack for Marcus Mariota. So Marcus Mariota takes over the year.
I mean,
they did love him.
I mean, he started out in Tennessee really well.
He did.
You know, first couple of years, he won a playoff game.
He did.
Caught his own touchdown pass in Kansas City. That was pretty electric.
Yes, he did.
But, you know, all good things come to an end, and, you know, he's now a perennial backup up in Philadelphia with AJ now. Best leader he's ever played with.
Yeah.
So
looking forward to that.
Full circle.
See how that goes coming up in Philadelphia. So we were talking about this during the break, and they're showing highlights or have been on the NFL Network of Will Levis and his pro day. Now, look, don't get me started on the pro day stuff because I talked about this last week. In the pro days, people just go nuts with pro day stuff. And I remember the Zach Wilson pro day. He made the one throw fading away, kind of like across his body, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, Zach Wilson! He's the next Patrick Mahomes." Like, pump the brakes a little bit.
It's the same thing about Malik Willis and his pro day. He did the whole roll out, take another turn, roll out again, wait for your receiver to get down there and chuck it 60 yards to show off your arm strength.
Exactly. So Will Levis, I mean, he had a good pro day, and there's videos out there of him slinging the ball 65, 70 yards down the field. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, we knew Will Levis could do that. But to your point, Titans were there, and they were in Kentucky for the pro day. There are reports out there that they've met with Will Levis and that he's part of the conversation there with the Tennessee Titans. Now, look, we talked about this combine. Titans are going to meet with a lot of people at the combine. They're meeting with a lot of people at pro day. But I do wonder if there's a chance for the Titans to go snag a quarterback this year. It's probably not going to be C.J. Stroud. Probably not going to be Bryce Young. I mean, the momentum looks like C.J. Stroud's going number one overall to Carolina. We'll see what happens on that front. If he goes number one, I would expect Bryce Young to go number two to Houston. And then there's the Anthony Richardson, Will Levis part of this, where I think both of those guys pretty universally are regarded as they got a whole lot of ability and a lot of upside, but not really sure where the floor is with either one of those guys either. What do you make of the Will Levis discussion and if the Titans could be involved in getting him, whether that's at 11 or if they've got to move up to 9 or 10 or whatever it would be to get in the quarterback conversation? What do you make of the Will Levis, Anthony Richardson part of this?
So Anthony Richardson, I think, should have went back to school. This whole narrative that he's a first-round quarterback, I think, is baloney. I mean, listen, he is a freak athlete. He's got a lot of upside to him. But I told you earlier, I think he's Terrell Pryor 2.0. I wouldn't draft him. I would definitely not waste a first-round pick on him. I think that you could get a really valuable player, especially in the top 10. I mean, that's where you go and get a 10-year starter. And to take a risk and a flyer on Anthony Richardson, I just think he is a bigger version of like a Malik Willis. Like I think he's that raw of a prospect. Now, when it comes to Will Levis, I think Levis is definitely a more refined prospect. I definitely think he's a better passer. I think he's a better overall quarterback. It just kind of comes down to his decision-making. And I think that, it really kind of depends on where he falls to. And I think that as the Anthony Richardson hype elevates and Will Levis starts to drop a little bit on people's boards, if he starts to fall back and he falls with a team in a better situation, I mean, I think you're talking about a guy that could really thrive. He has everything that you want. He has a big arm. He has a quick release. He's athletic. He's mobile. He's big. He can move. He'll run somebody over. He doesn't mind to do that. And I look at him and I looked at his playmaking ability while he's been at Kentucky, and I'm just saying if he falls to the right fit, and he's probably going to be a guy that's going to sit a year. I don't think he's going to be one of those that immediately starts. But I like his upside enough to where he's a guy that has similar traits to a Josh Allen, because we all know Josh Allen, when he was drafted, everybody was like, yo, who is this guy? Yep. He didn't even complete 60% of his passes in college, and he came to the NFL and he struggled for a bit, but he finally caught on and got it. I feel like Will Levis can potentially be a guy like that, and I see his floor being like a Carson Wentz, a guy with a lot of upside, a lot of talent, a lot of athleticism, but just makes dumb mistakes. And I think if your floor is Carson Wentz, then I think that you are deserving to go at least in the first round, because on a good day, you can really light up the box score.
Well, it's interesting to watch. Not that, we've talked about this before. We're in the heat of mock draft season, as I like to call it right now. We're right in the heat of it. And we're going to see a lot of things move and kind of shake around a little bit before the actual draft takes place next month. But I'm looking at a mock draft from CBS Sports that came out this morning, and it's got Will Levis at 18. It's dropped him all the way down to 18, and the Rams have traded up in their mock draft to go get him at 18. So to your point, like with the C.J. Stroud conversation, who looks like the momentum is there for him going number 1, Bryce Young at 2. They've got Anthony Richardson at 4 in this mock draft on CBS, and then not another quarterback until Will Levis at 18 by the Rams. They're moving up to get him. Like, it does feel like in the mock draft world, Will Levis is starting to lose a little bit of steam. Not that means anything at the actual draft time, because I still think at that position, if you got him rated as a first-round guy, if you're a team, and a run goes on quarterbacks, we know the first 2 picks are probably going to be quarterbacks. We'll see where Richardson goes after that. Like, if Levis is the 4th guy, like, somebody's going to jump up to go get him at some point.
I actually saw a mock draft where Minnesota traded up with the Eagles at 10 and went up and got him.
Yep.
I think it could be a team like that that's really needy, but it's not. They don't have the pressure to get their guy right now. Like you said, the Rams would be a good fit. The Vikings, the Washington Commanders, they don't necessarily know where they're at with the quarterback position. Teams like this that have a really good roster built around him, and especially if Levis drops out of the top 10, I mean, you can see it. Like the Kansas City Chiefs traded up to go and get a guy like Patrick Mahomes, a guy with a lot of upside, let him sit and let him develop a little bit under Andy Reid. I'm just telling you, in that mock draft that you just mentioned, if he goes to the Rams and he's with Sean McVay, and he's got Cooper Kupp and company and Aaron Donald on defense, and that, I know that they're moving off a lot of contracts and a lot of their star players, but that would be like a perfect ideal scenario to where Will Levis would go in and immediately thrive because he's in a really good offensive system. I mean, Will Levis's upside is a lot more than a Jared Goff. You know what I mean? And if Sean McVay can take Jared Goff to the Super Bowl in his second year in the league when, he was still really a raw prospect, I mean, I think he could do a lot with the upside with Will Levis.
That is NFC North favorite quarterback right now, and according to the odds, Jared Goff to you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, you got to look at the Lions roster, man. The Lions have built up a pretty stacked team this year. I mean, offensive line's good.
Division favorites.
Receivers are good. They've gone all defense in free agency and picked up a lot of good guys. I like the Lions a lot.
Division favorites.
I know you don't like it. You don't like it because your team's picked last. But
it's all right. Little chip on the shoulder.
Restore the roar.
It's all good. 615-737-1025. By the way, John on the text line says, so what happens to Malik if they take a quarterback? Like, to me, if you're taking a quarterback, you're viewing him as your long-term starter. Like, I think if they draft, let's say they drafted Levis at 11. Let's just for the sake of argument. He's not playing. He's not starting this year. Like, it'll be Tannehill, I think. And then Levis will come in and will be the backup. And maybe at some point in this year, you feel good about him being the guy. I think they would keep Tannehill if they drafted a quarterback at 11. That's just me.
I totally agree. I mean, the situation with the contract, it makes perfect sense if they were to go out and draft a guy this year, let him sit behind Tannehill, let him hold the clipboard, learn. Hopefully they don't have to get thrown into the action like Malik Willis did. But yeah, they're gonna hold on to Tannehill and use him as a bridge this year.
But what it means for Malik, if that's the route they go, is his time is likely done here, would be my guess.
Toodles.
Yeah, so that would probably be what that means at that point. 615-737-1025. We'll continue the conversation on the draft, and we'll get into the Titans and the wide receiver position. How in the world can they fix it heading into this season? Can they fix it heading into this season? All that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
I think it's a really good move.
TD, it's never the offseason for ESPN's Teron Davenport.
I mean, that's something you obviously have to look at.
He's always talking about what's next for the Tennessee Titans.
Quarterback is a really important thing that they have to get determined.
Check out TD, Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, and Friday mornings at 8:30. Plus, the Talkin' with TD podcast.
Looking forward to that.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Preds fans, Superbook wants to send one lucky fan a pair of tickets on the ice. Text the keyword Superbook, all one word, to 615-737-1025 for entry to win. Nashville Sounds Baseball is back at First Horizon Park. Opening weekend kicks off Friday, March 31st against the Louisville Bats, with Friday fireworks, live music Saturday, and Sunday family fun day. See you at the ballpark. Get tickets at NashvilleSounds.com.
Cards issued by Celtic Bank, member FDIC. Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 3.5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
Baseball, basketball, pickleball. Those are sports, and people love sports. If you love sports, you should know this. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. Does saving have anything to do with sports? No, but people love sports, so I'm yelling sports out. Hockey, swimming, golf. Not all sports have the word ball in there, so save big when you switch to Progressive. Go sports teams!
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary.
Why have over 2 million people trusted their bath remodels to Bathfitter? When a normal day is anything but normal, we fit your schedule with our unique tub-over-tub process installed in just a day with no demolition. When high quality is the only quality that matters, we fit your standards. We've been remodeling baths for over 35 years, and every bath we install comes with a lifetime warranty. Get the bath you want in a day with quality that lasts a lifetime. Bathfitter, it just fits. Visit bathfitter.com to book your free consultation.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. You're driving along and some nimrod cuts you off. You hit the horn. Jeez, it sounds like a goose in distress. Time to head over to eBay Motors. They have horns for every make and model, not to mention horn pads, steering wheels, wiring, and more. 122 million parts. You can even go for an upgrade. It looks like Mr. Cutoff Man needs a new seat cover. Try eBay Motors, pal. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robby and Rexrode 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Hey Nashville, this is Dan Lebitard. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. It is your last chance to sign up and play the official 4-team game bracket challenge, brought to you by Twin Peaks, home of 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports, and the Bluffs at Rocky Ridge. You can enjoy the biggest and best views in the Nashville area from your dream acreage home site. Call now at 866 Get Land. You can go to theGameNashville.com/bracket challenge or the Game Nashville app and pick your teams for a chance to win tickets to see Luke Combs at Nissan Stadium coming up on Saturday, April 15th. We're taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Andrew on the text line says, why are we talking like the Titans need 8 receivers? My Army math is bad, but we have a number 1 in Burks, a number 3 in slot in the Kyle Phillips, number 4 in NWI, and a number 5 in McMath or any other scrub. You can find a number 2 in the second or third round. This from Andrew on the text line. Well, look, I think you're taking a heavy leap of faith calling Treylon Burks a number 1 wide receiver.
A huge leap.
Look, I know you drafted him to be that. I don't know what you saw out of Treylon Burks last year that makes you think he's that right now.
I think Treylon Burks is going to wind up being a number 2. I really do. I mean, even before the draft, and Michelle can vouch for me for this, I was like, I see a lot of other receivers over him. I don't know. For me personally, I just don't think his route tree is versatile enough. I think, if you can get him open into the open field, he's a big body, he's fast. He's going to be a hard guy to bring down. But when you're talking about a wide receiver in today's game that makes game-changing plays and that goes up and makes those plays, I don't think he's that guy.
Well, look, I like him. Like I think he's good. And there are some moments last year. I mean, the Green Bay game, I mean, he dusted Jair Alexander and went up and got the ball. It was really good. I mean, the next – I don't know if it was the next week or the week after against Jacksonville, he went up and got one 45 yards down the field. He had some moments where he looked good. Now, he was hurt half of last year, and I think that there was a learning curve for him at the NFL level. Now, look, I think he's going to be good. Is he right now at this moment ready to be a number 1 wide receiver in the NFL? I don't know. That's your hope if you're the Titans. But my whole point goes back to, if you're trying to be competitive this year and you're trying to compete in the AFC South and get back in the playoffs, entering the season with Treylon Burks as your number 1 guy and not really a clear number 2. And that's the other thing with Andrew's text. Yeah, I like Kyle Phillips. He looked good in training camp. The guy got hurt in the first game, was immediately just a non-factor the rest of the season after that. Kyle Phillips, I like the skill set that he has. I have no confidence that Kyle Phillips can stay healthy. He's really small. Racing McMath hasn't stayed healthy.
Yeah, he didn't play till when? Week 14, week 13? It was something like Racing McMath, also a guy that had a decent training camp last year that just flat out didn't show up. It's just there's only really one wide receiver that they can rely on right now on the roster to stay healthy, and that's NWI. And if that is the one guy that you can count on to be there game in and game out, that's a huge problem for this team. I mean, flat out, you got 3 guys that can't stay healthy. You don't know what really they are because Kyle Phillips is a small-bodied guy. He needs to put on some weight, and that was his problem and why he got so banged up, and he never returned. And then Treylon Burks, is he going to come into camp in shape? Is he going to be a professional? We don't know that yet. Some of these guys that have high-end traits, big bodies, natural ability like Treylon Burks does, sometimes these guys just flat out don't have the work ethic. So, the wide receiver position on this team is still up in the air, and they've got to address it in some form or fashion.
Well, look, they have the worst wide receiving core in the league right now.
Easily.
Now, it's March, so I get it. It's March the 27th. They're gonna address it. Whether that's, they're going to address it in the draft in some form or fashion. I have no doubt about that. Whether it's 1 pick, 2 picks, whatever it is, they will draft a wide receiver coming up. Maybe they end up signing a veteran guy later as free agency goes on or people get cut or whatever it is. Who knows? Maybe they could make a trade. So it's not a huge deal that right now their wide receiving core isn't very good. The problem is you look at the free agency pool and it's not good, and some of the guys who I think are not that great anyway have already been signed. There's the trade option out there, but that's going to cost you draft capital in order to do that. So do you really want to do that if you're the Titans? And then there's the draft. And look, I agree with Andrew. I agree with you. You can find good receiving depth in the draft. You can find receivers that are ready to come in and help you contribute. But to what level are they ready to help contribute? There's no – I could be wrong about this. I don't think there's any Jamar Chase walking through the door in this draft coming up at wide receiver. So if you're drafting a wide receiver in the second round, whether that's Jalen Hyatt or whoever, are they really ready to come in and be a reliable guy for you game in and game out as a rookie? They took Treylon Burks last year in the first round. Now, I get it. Injuries were a part of it too. but he wasn't ready to come in on a game in and game out basis and be a reliable option for you. Some rookies are, some rookies aren't. We saw A.J. Brown come in and pretty much from the jump, he's ready to go. Like, he had a 100-yard game in his first game. You know, the stats weren't always there, but he was reliable, and it was pretty clear that quickly they figured out A.J. Brown was good and that he could play. Is there a guy like that you can identify in the draft this year? That's the question.
I mean, they're going to have to do their homework on it, but I'm just looking at the rest of the league and how teams are starting to fill out their roster and what's a winning formula in today's game. And the wide receiver position is now more important than ever in today's game. And when we look at the Titans receiving core and how we're so, validated that this is the worst wide receiving core in the entire NFL, it's like, where does this Titans team rank among AFC teams? And are they actually in contention to make any sort of noise this year and actually be competitive? That's my question. Is like, what teams are they actually better than right now in the AFC?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, look, you can take a look at their division and be like, I still feel like they're probably the second best team in their division, right?
I agree. But that could change.
That could change. I mean, you would assume both Houston and Indianapolis are going to draft a quarterback. Now, what are the odds of both of those quarterbacks coming in and being that impactful the first year? Probably not very high. So we'll see what happens there. But, I mean, you play in a poor division. So that helps you. Now, Jacksonville, I think they're clearly the favorite. They've got Calvin Ridley coming in. But they also are going to be playing a number one schedule this year. So how does that work out for them? I don't know. I still think they're clearly the favorite in the AFC South. But look at the East right now. Dolphins, they're better than the Titans are right now. Bills, for sure. I mean, the Jets are about to land Aaron Rodgers, I think. We'll see what happens on that front. The Patriots, I don't know about them. We'll see what happens on that front. The West, we know what that is with the Patriots. You got Sean Payton coming in the Broncos. Obviously, the Raiders with Jimmy G and Devontae Adams and what they've got there. To your point, like it's a crowded house in the AFC. And right now, the Titans have the worst wide receiving core in the AFC. It's not close.
Well, and it's also about positions of impact.
Yeah.
And I see, wide receiver, left tackle, edge rusher. Some of these positions are big needs. The Titans' positions that they're kind of solidified in is safety, which is really devalued in today's NFL. Running back, which is probably the, least valued position nowadays as well. Guys are struggling to get, second contracts. Even the best running backs in the game, like a Saquon Barkley, are getting franchise tagged and waiting till the wheels really do fall off. And it's like the Titans are really struggling to find players in impact positions. Offensive line, another one. Just in general, not even the left tackle, but, center now. Off like guards. Their D-line, that's a strength, so that's a positive. But, interior linebacker, who's going to be the green dot calling out the defense? This is all questions that need to be answered with this team. And when you look at them stacked up compared to just about every team, I would say New England, Indianapolis, Houston, and Vegas are the four teams that I can for certainly say the Titans are better than. But every other team in the AFC is a question mark, and it just makes me concerned while covering this team as what is the direction, what are they going to do, are they planning to be competitive, and if not, what's the plan going forward?
Jared from Dixon on the text line says, you guys need to go back into memory lane and remember all the trash talk about A.J. Brown in his first and second year. Everyone thought he was not going to be much, and look at him, top 5 now in the league. Burks already looks better in his flashes of goodness compared to Brown's first year. So to call it a bust is nuts. He'll be fine. First off, we haven't said Treylon Burks is a bust. Secondly, you are totally wrong. A.J. Brown was really good in his first year.
1,000 yards.
What are you talking about?
What? Name me one media person in Nashville that said A.J. Brown wasn't going to be a good player after his first year. Name me one. In his first year, they went to the AFC Championship game. He was an impact player throughout the entire season. Yeah, and even after that, he just got better and better every single year.
The knock on A.J. Brown after his second year was, all right, he had the knee problems. Now, he played in every game that year, but he had the knee problems that kept cropping up on him. And the question was, all right, is he going to be hurt all the time moving forward? That was the conversation on A.J. Brown. And then the next year, he was hurt off and on. I think he played in 13 games that year, and we know what happened after that. But like this idea that A.J. Brown, there's a lot of trash talk about A.J. Brown his first and second year. No, there wasn't. I remember what it was like with A.J. Brown here. There's a whole lot of thinking, we had the conversation on our show, could he be a top 10 wide receiver in the league? And we kind of went through at the time, who those receivers were. So the difference between A.J. Brown's rookie year and Treylon Burks' rookie year is pretty stark. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we'll continue the conversation on the Titans. We'll take a look at the Final Four matchups as well in the NCAA tournament. But right now, be caller 5, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Caller number 5 will win a pair of tickets to see Janet Jackson at Bridgestone Arena coming up on May the 4th, 615-737-1025. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
We are your home for every big pass.
Kevin Harvick takes over the race lead.
Big wreck.
Trouble turn 2. One car is around and hard into the outside wall.
And big win.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has won the Daytona 500.
Yeah! Woo!
Catch every lap of NASCAR on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Middle Tennessee, you can count on an award-winning service team for all your home maintenance and improvement needs. Lee Company, we're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and trusted by thousands of homeowners in our community. Our team is ready to assist with all your home maintenance projects, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, appliance service, and more. Experience the convenience of calling one phone number for all your home maintenance needs. Call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
20 years ago, when Genesis Diamonds came to Nashville, this was one of the most expensive cities in America for diamond jewelry. Our radical approach and no middleman pricing changed that forever. And now we're doing it again, this time with lab-grown diamonds. We were shocked to find out what the other mall stores and the other big radio advertisers were charging. They sell their platinum 4-carat VS2 lab-grown earrings for $15,720. We sell them for $6,900. Their 3.08 carat lab-grown round diamond with G-Color VS2 clarity is $10,045. We sell it for $5,900. Looks like they might be going back to the old ways. If they're charging this much on lab-grown diamonds, kind of makes you wonder what else they're selling at the same outrageous markup. Nashville, we are not going backwards. At Genesis Diamonds, our non-commissioned trusted advisors are here to give you all the information with details you can trust and prices you can count on. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. It's that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
What if I told you, in Iran, women are banned from going to soccer games?
Mom, take the ball. I love you.
For 43 years, Iranian women have fought back.
Police pushed us. Troops.
This is their story.
The joy was forbidden.
What is the meaning of that?
That is how they control you.
I'm Shimol Yai. Listen to the new 30 for 30 podcast, Pink Card. Available now.
One is smart.
This has just been a constant trend for this team.
One is funny.
That's right.
Funny looking, maybe. Chase and Michelle with Chase McCabe and Michelle Knezovic.
Are you listening?
I'm listening.
Everybody's listening.
Weekdays from 9 to 11. Presented by Hair Club. Hair Club. Love your hair. Live your life. On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode.
It's part of this nutritious breakfast.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in. Final segment of the day here on Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Junnie Riddle, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Monday morning. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Taking your thoughts on the Titans, and we've been discussing the wide receiver position all morning. Like we've talked about the idea of a trade. You know, Jared, we had on Friday, he doesn't think that possibility exists much with the way the Titans have decided to spend their money so far this offseason. I will say, I mean, to your point earlier in the show, Junie, they've been pretty intentional about saving money, recognizing the cap problems that they've had, trying to hold back on giving these long-term deals. I mean, look, Andre Dillard has a 3-year deal, in quotation marks, that's really a 1-year deal that they can get out of after this year if things don't work out there. And they've signed a lot of 1-year deals here. So I'm interested to see what their approach continues to be. Corey Curtis joined us earlier this hour, and he said, if they're going to be competitive, it feels like a big move has to come at some point. And I know the draft is coming up. Maybe the Titans insert themselves into a big move. We saw a big move with the draft last year with A.J. Brown being traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. But the more I look at it, the more I wonder, is there a big move coming? And number two, if not, is there really a path to the Titans having a dangerous receiving core this year? And we can talk about receiving core. We can talk about, the offensive line. Do they feel good about Andre Dillard being your left tackle? Rand Carthon said with Jim Wyatt from TennesseeTitans.com, they'd like to give him a look there. But, what if that didn't work? What are you doing at left tackle? Does having Andre Dillard take a tackle at number 11 overall off the board for the Titans? There's still a lot of decisions that they got to make with what they're going to do at number 11 overall. Even though they have addressed the offensive line this offseason, I think there's still more work to do there, and they got to find a left guard at some point too.
Well, that's the thing, is if they go out and they draft a left tackle, then they can move Andre Dillard in at guard. That's the thing that they like about him, is that he has that first-round talent grade. He was drafted there, and he's versatile. He can play numerous positions on the line, which is valuable whether he's a starter or a depth piece. And they're not stuck with this guy. And also, I don't think he's going to be as bad as Dennis Daly. And I think that that's really what Titans fans want. They just want someone that's serviceable, that's not going to allow double-digit sacks in a league.
I feel comfortable going on record and claiming that Andre Dillard would not be as bad as Dennis Daly.
I think that
I'm very comfortable as we sit here today on March the 27th, not having watched Andre Dillard play a ton of football. I'm pretty comfortable saying that.
So going back to our wide receiver conversation, though, but I mean, this is what I think is going to happen. I think it's likely to happen. It's going to be the scenario. I mean, there's still, some wide receivers out there. I think Treylon Burks going into this year should be looked at as your number 2. You can go and get a number 3 off the streets. Yeah, these guys aren't flashy, but you don't need them to be anything special. 500, 600 yards in a season being that third guy is what you need. And then I think they draft a guy within their first 2 picks. Last year we saw Christian Watson and George Pickens fall to the second round, and both of which had really, really good rookie campaigns that you can see going forward. So there are guys that are going to be there. There are guys that are going to have upside. You just got to find which ones are going to, mix and match and work best with your team. And the bottom line is this team needs to look at offensive line. They need to look at receivers. The defense, I think, is pretty shored up. I like the additions they've made. Azeez Al-Shaair, Arden Key at the edge rusher position. They filled in the holes that they needed to, Robbie. And I think if they're healthy in the secondary this year, they're going to still be a really good defensive team. They just need to keep plugging in these young, talented players on offense so that when the time comes and they find their guy, whether it's this year or next year or whenever, that they're going to have, a foundation that they can really work with to develop on.
To your point, the guy's still available at wide receiver in free agency. Kenny Golladay, Robbie Anderson, who has apparently chosen Anderson now, is available. Randall Cobb, Marvin Jones, Julio Jones, still available, so I guess you could go back down that road. Jarvis Landry is out there. Byron Pringle is out there. And, of course, Odell Beckham Jr. is out there as well. So not a ton out there that is all that appealing, hence why they're still available. The Odell part of it's interesting. Obviously he was really good for the Rams a couple of years ago when he got there and was a big part of them getting to the Super Bowl. He got hurt in the Super Bowl and then didn't play last year. So that's 2 ACL injuries from him, and he didn't play a year ago. And then you look at his age at this point. I mean, he's 30. He'll be 31 coming up in November. It's not ancient by any stretch of the imagination. I'm interested to see where Odell ends up and what his contract looks like.
I mean, he's already come out and said that, you know, the 15 to 20 million that he was asking for was a false narrative, but he's also not playing for 4.
Yeah.
I personally think he's a little bit closer to 4 than what he thinks he is. I mean, anytime you're a wide receiver and you have 2 different ACL surgeries and you're over the age of 30, it's like, dude, come on. Like, you're going to kind of be on a year-to-year basis at this point. I mean, we saw it with Julio Jones. He had 1,000 yards. The following year in Atlanta, he had hamstring issues. He played half the season, got about 700 yards, which was still respectable enough for him to be a high-value trade acquisition from the Titans, deservingly getting a second-round pick. I think that at the time, we all thought that that was a decent trade, but you know, the Falcons had a little bit more insight on that, obviously, and his hamstrings are not where they were. And even when he went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, yeah, he showed some flashes, but, I mean, he was still relatively the same guy that we saw in Tennessee. So Odell Beckham Jr., I feel like, although played really well for the Rams the last time we saw him, he's still on that back 9 and is going to have to take a prove-it deal to still show that he's an elite caliber receiver.
Junie, the Final Four is set in the NCAA tournament. Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, and the matchup coming up in the first game on Saturday, and then the nightcap coming up Saturday will be Miami and UConn. So you're talking about a 9 seed in FAU, 2 5 seeds in San Diego State and Miami, and a 4 seed in UConn. So it's been a wild tournament to get to this point. No number 1 seeds even playing in the Elite 8. What do you make of the Final Four that is now set in the NCAA tournament?
I love the parity. I love the mid-majors that are going to be playing in the Final Four. I'm really looking at this San Diego State and FAU game. Like, I love that matchup. I think it's going to be the better game of the two. The point guard matchup between John L. Davis and Darian Tramwell, 2 really athletic, physical guards, playmakers for their teams. And I think that game is going to be the game of the day. Also, Vlad Golden, the big man for FAU, just absolutely dominated the boards against Kansas State. And I told Michelle when we did our show Saturday prior to that I thought that he was going to be, I thought he was going to be a mismatch against some of K-State's athletic bigs and how they like to run their offense. But he showed that he could play at an elite level. So FAU versus San Diego State, I think, is a very physical matchup between 2 teams that are super athletic, like to run the floor, and I think that's going to be a super exciting back-and-forth matchup.
I'm interested to see what it looks like. I'm interested to see what the TV numbers end up being. We've had a couple people text in today say, I'm excited about it. It's great. I wonder if the NCAA deep down is like, man, look at these matchups. I don't know if the TV ratings are going to be all that great, but I'm interested to see what it looks like, and I'm pulling for FAU. We'll see what happens on that front. That's going to do it for us today here on Robby and Rexrode. Junnie Riddle will be back tomorrow with us here on the program as well, so looking forward to that. Junnie, great job. You stayed awake. Way to go.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Getting used to this 4 a.m. wake up.
Absolutely. Chase and Michelle coming up.